All right, we need a guest. Do we have anybody else from the team?
Is our guest not coming?
No, he confirmed. There he is. Speak of the devil. We'll get started right away, I guess.
I never had a chance to listen to the radioactive stuff. That sucks. I need to listen to that.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, thanks for coming.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I wanted to ask you about why you disconnected, if it was like a personal issue or what, before we discussed it on the show. So,
Yeah, we can discuss it. Yeah, that's fine.
okay. So, how it's going to work is we'll hit record. I'll introduce who's here. Then you and I will go into a Q&A for the first 10 to 15 minutes, basically. I'm going to cover the questions you see on the first page I sent you, basically, and what you see in the links. And then right about that time, Evan Pasoko should be jumping in, and we will go right into the Coke race and review that.
And 10-4 sounds good.
Yeah, so once we get through that, we'll get you out at that point and say our goodbyes, and you can bail, or you're welcome to stay if you want.
10-4. I'll probably have to bail. I gotta do some stuff with the family, but yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long show. We got a lot of stuff, obviously.
Right.
Mike, I'm gonna take the whole IndyCar stuff.
Yeah. Did you see the thing I just put in chat about that? Some late breaking news.
Yeah, I'll have to go refer to it afterwards. Remind me.
They're gonna have a caution on a road course. Wonder how they're gonna do that.
We're supposed to have cautions in our NASCAR races on the road courses this year.
How are they managing that? Do you know?
Probably just admin throw 'em.
You can do that in a road course.
Yeah, I think so.
But what? Okay.
But they'll probably just code it some weird way.
Bet you it's coming in the next update. All this stuff is driving to all these updates that are going to be coming in that June build. Or is it June? Or is it earlier in June?
No, June.
Is it June? Okay.
So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and. Well, no, we're gonna wait till the top of the till the half hour.
Is Adam or them coming tonight?
No, Adam said he had to work early, so he couldn't come. And Nick's computer blew up on him, pretty much. So he's done racing unless he borrows Austin's rig.
Hey, I know how that feels.
Crazy.
Oh yeah.
How do we get some of these other team members, Greg, to engage in the podcast?
I think the better question is how do we get some of these other team members to engage some of it in general?
Yeah, true. Like Smalley?
And since I'm not talking to Morley anymore, I might boot both of them.
Well, they're not really racing with us, I mean, that I've seen.
I have to check to see what they've been doing in the background. I don't know what they're doing. We've been pretty lenient because of all the stuff that's been going on.
Right.
I'll find out. They're supposed to be cutting essential services again. The list of essential services. We'll see if my job hangs on tomorrow. I have a feeling I'll still be essential.
We already got people on the chat. Sean Sadler and Jason Pablo Escobar. Chris or Greg, I don't know if you guys, one of you, can monitor that and interact, because David usually does that.
I'll just do it. I can just do it from the Facebook page, right?
Well, you just go to the stream, right? Either on YouTube or
Oh yeah, I'll do it
on
that way,
Facebook,
Yeah.
and just you'll see These
Is that what you're
two
doing
particulars
for
are on
YouTube?
Facebook.
Okay, I'll just go through the Facebook for now.
But yeah, we actually have it on both and Twitch even. So
You almost wow. If you stream it, you almost need to have a chat. And does it show up in your corner, your screen, or whatever?
I have a unified chat where I can see them all. Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm too busy to interact with it. Okay, I'm gonna pour a drink and we're gonna start.
I think pretty much everything's a sign. That's what in terms. The hardware software is a little bit of a mess, but it's fine.
Did we do that? We were talking about. Or are we going to do that next week with trying to pick certain things to help people find stuff at this time of year?
Well, somebody has to write it up. I haven't. No.
All right. Well, we'll have to look for certain.
I was
things.
kind of looking for a volunteer to write that up, but
I'm done volunteering because I get yelled at when I don't do it by the time I get it done if something comes up.
yeah, just if the mood strikes you. All right, so here we go. Okay, backup record. Who's got that?
I'll do it. Hold on.
So in TeamSpeak tools, start recording. Okay, now I'm going, and we're starting. You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters: Chris Scales,
Good evening.
Greg Hectus,
Hope everybody's staying safe.
and special guest Jeremy Allen.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, welcome. Well, thanks for coming, Jeremy Allen. On iRacing, you're actually Jeremy R. Allen under your driver profile. And it looks like you've been here for a long time. It says 10 years. So let's go back to the beginning and learn more about you. When did you first hear the word iRacing, and then what did you do about it?
Well, like many of us at the top of like the oval side, I was running the Pappy 2K3 game, and the rumors started coming out about iRacing in the next gen Papyrus game, and I probably heard about it in 06 or 07, and waited a year after release or so, and that's when I first joined up. Was in the middle of 2009, and just never looked back.
All right, very good. And looking at your profile, your overall winning percentage, 23.9% on oval. Those are some great numbers. Let's jump over to what do you do for hardware and software? What are you running for wheel pedals and monitors, VR, that kind of thing? And then third-party software.
So I just upgraded to the AccuForce, the V2. I've been using these Fanatec V3 inverted for a couple years now. Love the pedal. Starting to get used to the wheel, the direct drive wheel. I come from originally the G27, and then I upgraded to a belt-driven Fanatec CSL Elite, and that really wasn't cutting it for me. And I wanted more feedback, and got the direct drive. As far as VR or triples, I just run a single 32-inch curved monitor, nothing real special about it, 144 hertz, and recently upgraded my computer. Had to, but other than that, I'm just pretty basic.
Okay. And we'll talk about your computer situation a little bit later on when we talk about the last race. Let's talk about what other racing do you do on iRacing when you're not getting ready for the Coke Series. Are you running like, it looks like B Fixed a lot recently? What else are you running?
Well, I think as far as oval racing goes, the B-Fix, the Xfinity car is probably the hardest car to drive right now in the top three NASCAR series. So I like to get in on that once, at least once or twice a week, just to keep my mechanics up, keep my skills sharp. But recently, I've been really enjoying the IMSA series on the roadside. I've grown more fond of the roadside, trying to get better at it. It's a totally different skill set, and just been working at that during my off time. Not practicing for the NASCAR stuff.
Okay, have you dabbled in the dirt at all, or?
No, actually, that is just not my style. It's just a totally different skill set, and it would take way too long for me to get where I'd like to be. So no, I don't really do the dirt stuff.
Okay. So you've been running the A car, obviously, in the Coke Series, and this year we have that tire model known as version 7. What do you think of that tire model? Does it suit you? Did you like it before, or do you like it better now? What do you think?
So when they originally released it, I didn't really know what to think about it. It was completely different than anything I've ever felt. But it's growing on me. I like the fact that you really got to protect your tires. You can't just go out there and run 150 qualifying laps in the race, and you got to really strategize. When you want to go. Another thing is you got to strategize when you want your setup to be good. You could build a setup that takes off 1 to 20, and then completely just fall off the face of the earth, or you can start slow and end fast. That's more my style, and I think that's why the V7 tire fits me better than any other tire that Irison's had previously.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about the past. Let's go back in time when iRacing started, so to speak. You were involved in what was known as the Coke Series back then. You have 2 wins that I found in the Coke Series back in 2011 and 2012. And I guess I wanted to ask, what is your what's different, from then to now, from your perspective, because you've been in both situations.
It's quite a bit different. Back then it was more of a, league type setting. A lot of good guys coming together and just having a good time. Now it's really like a job. Everybody's taking it ultra serious. Everyone's trying to be the best they can be, and you didn't really have that. You had 5 or 6 guys doing that back when I was involved in 2011 and 2012. Now you got 30 to 35 guys that could win on any given Tuesday. It's way harder to to win now than when it was back when I got my 2 wins.
Yeah, it is a whole different situation for sure. Let's talk about your decision to come back, so to speak, and get back into the Coke Series after all that time. What led to that? And tell us a little bit about the Road to Pro and the Pro Series.
I owe the comeback most of all to Marcus Lindsay. He used to be back in the Coke Series way back in the day. He really convinced me. He said, this thing's taken off, and he told me he'd like to see me get in it and get involved. That it's going in a good direction. So we started Road to Pro, the quote unquote comeback in 2018. It didn't go like we wanted to. We took some time off just to get a reset. We come back in February and started the 2019 season, and we got hot, and we just carried that all the way into the NASCAR. I mean, it felt like for a solid year I couldn't make a wrong move or a wrong call on pit road.
Yeah, with one win that I saw in the Pro Series, and then several top 10s, and I think you ended even P1 in points going into the Coke Series.
Yeah, we won the Road to Pro Series, which is a feeder for the Pro Series, which
Right.
is a feeder for the yeah. So running the Road to Pro Series was probably the biggest accomplishment as far as championships. That was really cool to win, and gave me that little bit extra momentum going into the Pro Series. That hey, I can do this. I can requalify. Just taking that much time off, I didn't know there's a lot of new faces I'd never even raced with.
A lot of young people too, right? So, what is your most memorable iRacing moment? That almost sounds like that may be it.
Yeah, maybe clinching the title at Homestead and the Road to Pro, or getting my first ever eNASCAR win at Talladega. It ended in controversy, but it was memorable for sure, and something that I'll never forget.
Okay, very good. Let's switch gears and talk about this year a little bit. But coming into this race, 16th, 15th, and then 9th. Tell us about those three runs. I mean, Daytona with that big mess at the back. I mean, 16th, that's not so bad.
Yeah, Daytona, I was rusty. I played it entirely too safe. That's not my style. Never been my style. That's how I got my 2 wins in plate races. Is, going up there and trying to lead the most laps I could. And I just kind of rode around and it ended up biting me. I wasn't able to get back to the front. I was kind of stuck in the mid pack where all the where the mess happens. You can either be ahead of it or behind it, but when you're in it, that's not a good place to be. And we got lucky to dodge it all. Come out with the 16th, which is not bad. Don't get me wrong, but we definitely wanted to try to do better. We went to Auto Club.
Well, let me stop you there on the Daytona. You mentioned track position. Basically, it is so important, and I think there's a stigma amongst the veteran drivers because back in the day, we'll hang around the back and we'll get up to the front at the end. You can't do that anymore. It's a totally different Daytona now.
Yeah, actually, you're right. I used to be able to bully my way up through there a little bit more than I can now. People call me on my bluff, and they you just get stuck. They go 3x3, and you're just stuck. You can't go forward.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's go ahead to Auto Club.
So Auto Club, we had a computer issue. We ended up falling out in qualifying, starting dead last. I think we ran all the way up to like 13th and called a caution, and we had a very good car. We were going 3 wide for third with like 20 to go, and we just the hole closed up, and I ended up going sideways into the wall and got a bunch of damage and ended up finishing 15th. But that's the one I felt like I could have won. I probably would have won if I didn't get that contact with 20 to go. Right,
and then 9th on the third race.
Yeah. The more I race, the more comfortable I get, and the rest comes off. The 9th was, we didn't really have speed at Homestead. I had to think there for a second. It was Homestead. We had okay speed, but wasn't great. And then we played the fuel game, and we had to save a little bit. We stayed out with 71 laps to go, and ended up having to save a little bit. Ended up finishing 9th because a couple of guys ran out. They went too hard. I don't know how you do that. You need fuel, but they just went hard as they could. So we ended up saving fuel and passing them at the end. And that's a building block for sure that propelled us into the top 10 in points. And I feel like that's going to be the game changer for us.
Yeah, a great run for sure. And fairly consistent finishes there, kind of 10th to 16th, so to speak. So keep it up. We'll talk about this week's race in a moment. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the team. First, the public-facing team. You're teamed up with Christian Challoner, with the JTG Daughtery. Tell us about getting that and what you think about getting that particular ride.
I was super excited when JTG Daughtery called me because I know Christian. Haven't one of the guys that didn't race with, but I definitely had watched and studied, and to be teamed up with him and this 2020 NASCAR series, it's an honor. He's a very good guy, and he's super quick, super smart on the track, and that's one of the big reasons I signed there. I had 2 other offers, but I felt like Christian was the difference maker in my offer because I know we could win the team championship and take that money home, and that was a big part of it.
Okay, and who is your contact over there at JTG? Are you talking to Brad Daughtery or Tad or Jody?
Actually, the guy who contacted me and is running the esports department is Blake Cope. As far as what I understand, he's Ernie Cope, the crew chief. He's his son. So that's like the contact I have.
Aha, and he works for the team.
Correct. Yeah, he runs their esports department.
Awesome. Okay. All right, and then you had the opportunity to go to Charlotte to meet the other drivers, NASCAR, iRacing. Tell us a little bit about that and what you thought about seeing those people.
It's very surreal. A lot of these guys, you know, a couple of these guys I've been racing with basically my entire sim racing career, and it was great to meet them. A lot of my behind the scenes teammates were there. It was also great meeting them, and of course you get to meet the stewards like Tyler and the representatives from NASCAR. I'm struggling to find their name, but they were there as well, and everybody was just super nice, and we seemed to get a lot of things ironed out. It was good to get the rule book set in stone, you know, before the season when everyone's there, so you can pound it in everyone's head what you want to do.
Right. Okay. That sounds like fun. And then I noticed you were from Indianapolis area, so I wanted to ask you, you know, as a local, what do you think about the postponement of the Indy 500, such an iconic race due to this coronavirus stuff?
Well, I understand, you know, safety first and foremost. So, you know, I understand postponement. I'm glad they didn't full on cancel it. It's the biggest event in Indianapolis, so that would have really hurt our economy and everything. But you know, safety first and foremost. I actually live within spitting distance of the track. Every time they practice, it rattles my windows. You know, it wakes me up sometimes in the morning.
All right. Well, at least it's still going to happen. I'm excited for the Indy 500. It's always such a good race. And well, thank you so much, Jeremy Allen, for coming on and talking a little bit about yourself today. Let's talk about the most recent Coke race. And joining us here on the show, Evan Pasoko. You showed up.
Yeah, we made it. It's been a crazy few weeks, as I'm sure you guys know, and I've been on broadcasts left, right, and conference calls and events and all kinds of different things. But I will always do my very best to make room for the show.
Well, we appreciate that, and let's talk about the Bristol race. And Jeremy, jump in when you can if you got some you know, from the driver's seat perspective. So it started out Conti leading early with over Bolin, Clampett, then Davies, then Thierry's Leahy. The top two kind of broke away a bit at lap 32. It was good racing for the lead. They were starting to actually lap cars there. Lap 40, Bolin finally gets the lead there.
Yeah, it was really good because, you know, having only gotten this back on the calendar last year, and that race only had 5 yellows, we were like, hey, maybe we'll see a lot of green flag racing in this one. And we did. Of course, I think it's, you know, what we'll talk about later on towards the end when we get all the yellows. That gave us a higher number than what we saw last year. But the start was good, and of course, it is kind of stereotypical Bristol that your race leader is going to have to deal with all that traffic. And I know when Conti was up front, and he was getting held up and lost the race lead when he kind of set a pick on himself with some lap traffic. And poor Graham there finally gets to the race lead, and obviously didn't see the traffic coming off of turn 2, and I think. Some of the traffic started rolling. I think he tried to get around Eric and ended up in the mess. And unfortunately, that's what happens at Bristol because he was, again, off to a very good start as one of the top rookies in the series. And like a handful of drivers who showed speed, don't really get the result that they probably deserved.
Yeah, Graham, Kerwin. Yeah, they Eric Smith, Malik Ray, all involved in that caution lap 47. And
yeah,
then
big issues. And then listen, like I said, we expect to see that happen. And of course, for a lot of it, you know, even late in the race, it was guys back in the pack fighting, and the race leaders were able to kind of get on through. But unfortunately, in that case, you know, you did have some of those top cars collected.
And then back to green, Davies, which it's nice to see him up front. Clampett, Ottinger, Leahy, Conti, lap 52. And then a quick caution, a car broke loose and single car spin. It was Jimmy Mullis. Keister and Bolton make contact, but it stayed green through that. And then finally a caution on lap 88. Eric Smith contact with Alfala, Lyon, Guest, and others. It was a pretty big wreck.
And that did not help my fantasy out, as Randy was so acute to mention on the broadcast, as we've been trying to do this little broadcast booth fantasy. And I've picked guys with speed. I picked Nathan because he led the most laps last year and didn't really get a good result out of it. And he was kind of like a top 10 car, and he got collected in it. And I know you mentioned Ray. Ray got into a bit of a dust-up as that race would go on. So there was a lot of tempers and a lot of stuff to talk about. Certainly for us on the broadcast side of things, Bristol didn't disappoint. No matter who you were cheering for, maybe your driver didn't get a good finish, but from our perspective, it had just about everything.
It did, and then from there, Evan, I wanted to ask you. I noticed on after that caution, you actually have to call the replay of what happened before it was actually shown on video. And I think it's just because it's a short track and they're going to pit stops and you want to cover pit stops live. So you're trying to get the replay in time, but you can't get the video. So you're doing it verbally. Tell us about the challenge of broadcasting on a short track.
Yeah, it has to do a combination with the track and as well with how we've changed to do the broadcast this year. So it hasn't been as noticeable in the other races because, like you mentioned, bigger racetrack, we have time to kind of queue up replays. But when RaceSpot would do it, I mean, we would, kind of identify the car number involved, and we'd kind of click right to that car. So you would almost see the camera kind of search it around, trying to get set for the replay. Obviously, with it all be doing, iRacing doing it all in Chelmsford, there's 3-4 camera people that are actually feeding into the broadcast. So 2 of our camera people are assigned to go find a replay. They have to go find an angle that they like it. It has to get approved. They're going to rewind it, get it set, and that just takes too much time at Bristol. So we actually need to get better, I think, as a booth team of trying to call it when it happens on the actual, like when you guys see the replay at home. But we're just kind of so used to, if a wreck happens, we're used to the replay coming up so quick that when I'm in the sim myself, I just kind of rewind it back and kind of talk through it myself. So that's kind of why you're getting our explanation first, and then you're seeing the video later, is just because on the back end, they're being a little bit more fine-tuned with what angles and what kind of replays we're showing. So you're exactly right. At Bristol, it's a challenge because in the earlier races, Daytona, Fontana, Homestead, the lap to catch the pace car and then they come in, that's enough time to queue a replay. It isn't at Bristol. And I expect that maybe we'll run into a similar thing when we head off to the next race as well at Richmond, because it's still a shorter track, so you might see a similar thing happen with stops.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Evan. We didn't really have too many cautions in the first couple of races, right? Like, you guys didn't have a lot of time to practice that.
Yeah, I mean, Daytona, we had none, which was super nice until y'all made sure to wreck them on the last lap, and it technically counts for none. We had 2 in Fontana, and we had 2 in Homestead. And with those 2 second and third races, when you get those yellows, since there were so few, they were pretty much, in agreement that everybody's going to come down to the pit lane. So we still had cars down pit road, and we didn't have that issue. But by far and large, we had not seen as many yellows all year as we did on Tuesday night.
Okay, and then moving forward, we had a quick caution for Keister, who pushed up into Bob Bryant. Cattell had also gotten loose and nailed Mullis in a separate incident. Mullis had nowhere to go and literally killed his car. It was tough luck. That was an interesting call too, Evan, because you identified it was 2 separate incidents, and in fact, I think we even got replays of them.
Yeah, that's one advantage of having the multiple camera people is we were able to queue one up, and then the second one, and that's kind of what you see at tracks like this, and I know that Jeremy, you can attest to this as well. Is if there's a mess somewhere, then somebody's checking up and somebody's hitting them, and a lot of the time it all ends up as one big wreck. And sometimes, at Bristol, when it only takes you 5 seconds to get down to the other end of the racetrack, you can kind of be wrecking all over the place just from one person getting out of shape.
Right. A lot of the official cautions that are thrown start a lap or 2 before, and the rest of it's just people trying to, either gain a spot or get, try not to wreck. It's just everyone stacks up so quick.
Yeah, especially here. Back to green, lap 101. Longer green flag run here at around lap 155. Conti finally catches Davies. It was a good battle for the lead as they were getting through heavy lap traffic. Then Luza obviously caught him and joined the battle. And then Conti tangles with a lapper, but it stays green. Man, this is this classic NASCAR. I was so entertained.
Yeah, and that's not even the, I referred earlier that he kind of set a pick on himself with the lapper. That was early. This is what quite literally was turned up and into the outside wall. That car was basically, totally horizontal to the racetrack, and then it kind of was able to snap it back, and he saved it. So that was really good by Conti. I was talking as well a little bit earlier today about how well the junior motorsports cars have done. You mentioned you love seeing Brad Davies up front, and you leaded 117 laps of that race, most laps led, one of the series veterans. But that green flag run, once Luz got up and into the mix, still under green flag conditions at that point. I know even with the restarts later on, nobody could really get to Ryan from that point on. But, up until then, you had like 4 or 5 cars, I think, that you could kind of throw a blanket over them, and it would have came down to, pit sequence and execution on that if it had stayed green, and as well execution on the restarts to see who would get that clean air, which obviously was a big, big advantage for him late.
Yeah, and then Luza got the lead at that point in that exchange. Stayed green until lap 189. Alfala gets wrecked. Challenger got him after Ray squeezes them into the wall. Looked like a little bit of payback there, short track racing style.
That was 100%. I think that he paid him back. And, I was curious if there were going to be any harsh feelings about that, but I think I saw them joking with each other on Twitter over it. So I think
toilet paper.
Yeah, they're going to be fine. They'll survive. But listen, that's what you expect at Bristol, and we said this on the broadcast, and I think NASCAR liked it because I think that's something that they clipped and put on the social stuff. That's why you love Bristol. If somebody does you wrong, you can just go back and get them, and that's what happened in that case. And it happens to somebody every year. This time around, it just happened to be Ray and Christian getting together. And Jeremy, you're a guy that knows all of these drivers, have been around for the scene for a while. What are maybe your thoughts on that kind of payback and how it plays into a championship?
So payback is typical of Bristol, but the 2 guys that were doing it, that is what surprised me the most. You're talking about a 4-time champion. You gotta have a cool head. He has a cool head. I know him. And Challenger, he's an up-and-comer. Guy is stone cold. So when I seen those 2 getting mad, I was like, oh crap, this is getting real fast.
Well, Ray had his opportunity. I think on some later restarts, he was right behind Christian. So.
Yeah, he did. He got to his inside, and I think we actually flipped the cameras back because we're all thinking, all right, watch them. And I think that Ray decided to just truck on by and opt to not go for round 2. Maybe we'll see it at Richmond. We've got short tracks coming up. You never know.
It's really easy to screw everything up, though. If you're trying that, you could really end your race badly.
Okay, and then that's kind of the beginning of the caution fest from there. It was kind of back to green, 49 to go. It was Lowe's, Davies, Conti, Bolton, Zielinski, Novak, Guest, and then caution with 40 to go. Jeremy Allen, you bring out the caution. Now let's stop here and talk about your race a little bit. I was watching you come through there. You were like 23rd earlier, and then you were up to like 16th, and then I think I saw you as high as 12th at one point, and then this caution happened, and it happened to be for you. So tell us about what happened.
So, out of our control, my computer it was doing something it didn't need to do, and connection to the server was really poor all night. I told NASCAR and Iverson to hang out in the back until it fixed itself. And it kind of fixed itself where I was good enough to go racing, and I was able to drive up to 12th, and then we had a restart, and everything went south really quick, and NASCAR made the call to pull us off the track, and I tried, I got off the track as fast as I could. I should have drove back to pit road. That was me being kind of a dummy. I brought the caution out. Didn't really want to do that, but yeah, just computer problems. You have it in real life with electronics and engines, and we have it here too with obviously computer and internet.
Man, that's going to hurt in the points, isn't it?
Yeah, we fell from 8th to 20th, and I think if we would have just finished where we were running, we would have been like 5th or something in points. So it hurts, but it's a long season. We'll get back up there. Long season. We got a good team behind us, the JTG, and we'll be back.
That's right. And so what did you do to fix the problem for the next race?
I went to Newegg.com and spent $1,300.
All right. So you're building it yourself kind of thing?
Yeah. It's my dad got me into sim racing and taught me all about computers. So, I like building them. It's something I enjoy doing, and I like knowing when I got under quote unquote the hood.
Okay. All right, and it was kind of a mystery at the time during the broadcast what happened, but I'm glad to hear the backstory on that. I'm glad you're getting a new computer for next week.
Yeah, should be good to go. I shouldn't have any connection issues. Hopefully.
Now, on that caution, Keegan pits and everyone else stays out, and I think that was probably not a great move. What do you think?
Um, it's so tough, man. Keegan's so smart, but if it were me, there's no way I give up track position. No way. But maybe he thought he had a good enough car to get back through there. Just, man, I think Evan called it perfect. I heard, because I hopped out of the rig and I went straight into the living room and watched the race, and I think Evan had a pretty good view on this. It's, you might have a good car and you might win the race, but there's a whole lot of chance of you not getting back up there and getting wrecked.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that you're concerned about is, is it hard enough if he goes back to like 15th? I mean, it's hard enough to pass those 14 cars back. But the issue is, on the restart, you get the top 6 cars, whatever the number is, that single file out. Most of the wrecks were coming mid-pack, even at the end. I mean, for how hard the race leaders were going at each other, Keegan was all right. I mean, he was still, able to get on to that P12 finish, but he just could kind of never get out of that log jam in the middle, and that's why I think you saw other drivers opt to kind of give up that tires. And listen, nobody else really pitted. It was kind of an off-the-wall call by Keegan at the end of the day, which he doesn't know. He could pit, and if everybody else follows him in, he's the first guy on the fresh tires, and, he looks like a genius. But really, everybody else opted to just kind of stay out, and it made some of those late race restarts interesting because they're all on old tires and spinning them and whatnot. But listen, sometimes that's going to work out for you, and this time it just didn't.
Yep, and then back to green. Lowe gets around Davies, and as Luza was starting to gap those guys, Brandon Cattell brings out another caution with 26 to go after contact with Schoenberg. Restart with 20 to go after another quick caution for Clampett, Garigula, and Keister. Then another caution, Gorlinski, Schoenberg, and then back to green, 6 to go. Luza, Lowe, Conti, Novak were the leaders, and then another caution. Thierry's went 3 wide with Vincent and Cattell. We even had a replay of that, but all, like you said, it was all at the back of the field.
And that's just the way, Bristol is just because I'm running in 14th, or if I'm running, a lap down, 2 laps down in 20th position, as long as there's somebody there that I'm fighting with, I'm not going to be like, well, I'm just going to not go for this fight because I'm going to let the race leaders go at it. And that's the thing. I mean, not only at Bristol, we can get away with it at other tracks, but it's just kind of an iRacing thing that, you have that middle portion green flag run, and if you get a yellow towards the end, there's a chance that you're kind of going to have a lot of that stop and start, no matter where you are, but especially at the shortest track on the calendar in Bristol.
Okay, and so at the final restart, nobody challenges Ryan Michael Luza, and he wins 2 straight. Let's hear your call.
From Garrett Lowe, gonna look to the bottom. It is not gonna be enough, and Ryan Luza is gonna go back to back. He steals the win at Thunder Valley.
So he's looking pretty good this year.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's an understatement, and we said it when he was doing the celebration as we did our Coca-Cola move of the race, that is, a couple of fun facts that I really enjoyed. Tim Terry's got me hooked on these kind of fun facts, and I know Tim does his Tim Facts, that, that's Ryan's 14th career win, so he ties Nick Ottinger for second all time, only trailing Ray, who's 10 ahead of him at 24 trips to victory lane, but as well is... Ryan had a really good start to the season last year, and then kind of did not get those trips. I mean, he was still fast, but didn't get those trips to victory lane in the second half like he did. And in every season that he's competed in, he has won at least 2 of the opening 4 races. In 17, it was round 2 at Vegas, and round 3 in Fontana. In 18, it would have been Auto Club round 3 and Vegas round 4. Last year, it would have been round 2 in Vegas, 4 in Texas, and now this year, Homestead and Bristol in 3 and 4. So if there's one driver that I should have learned, just based on history, to take my fantasy pick for a couple of these first 4 weeks, it's got to be Luza, because, no matter, and we had him on one of our eNASCAR podcasts a couple of weeks ago that we did on the NASCAR social channels, and I asked him, different teams, different rules, different, builds on iRacing, setups. I mean, through all of that, he's able to be consistent, and I think a lot of that has to go into, while some of the other drivers are still trying to figure things out when those changes happens, is he's really quick. And he can figure those things out, and I'm sure he's now hoping, having gotten 2 wins early, that he can continue that for a full season effort and obviously fight for a second title.
And he's so serious when you show him his face on the camera.
No expression.
Yeah, he
No.
just
Even when we get him on like these interviews.
even when he won the race, he was still
Yeah,
flat.
nothing. Yeah, he's calm, cool, and collected. He's locked in.
All
and
business.
and it's because he expects to win. I mean, when he wins, it's not like a big surprise. He's like, okay, I did my job because I need to show up and win. So if he gets anything other than when he's disappointed, if he wins, he's kind of content, I think would be a way to put it, because he expects to win. And I think that for the top level guys in this, then listen, I love seeing the guys have fun with it. Don't get me wrong. But for the top level guys, they're expecting to come out here and run good each week. And that's why, not robotic, I don't think that's a good way to put it. But I think that as well, like, him being locked in shows you that when he's behind the wheel, it's 110% business.
Yep. So multiple wins this year so far. It puts him 4th in points. Bobby Zielinski 1st, Keegan Leahy 2nd, Garrett Lowe 3rd, Ryan is in 4th, and then Ashton Crowder 5th. And then you, Jeremy Allen, 20th after that computer problem. So we're looking for you to bounce back up there.
Yeah, we'll get back. That was, tough pill to swallow. We were up there. We were up in 8th and had those problems. Just to add on Ryan Micheluzza, the guy is an animal. I call him an animal. He's just, you don't want him behind you as much as you do want him behind you. You don't, because he pushes you in a situation where he's always gonna he's always got the advantage. I don't understand it. He could come from the very back to the front with. And you look and you go, well, it's 30 laps later. How did he get up there? And then you go, well, it's Ryan.
That's right. All right. Well, Jeremy Allen, thank you so much for coming on our show today and getting to know you a little bit. Good luck in the Coke Series going forward with the new computer build, and I hope it goes well. Tell the listeners out there how they can follow you. Do you have a Twitch or a social media, Twitter?
I mainly use Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at JeremyAllen02. I have a Facebook too. Just search me on there, Jeremy Allen. I don't stream or anything, just not my style, but I keep most of my fans updated on Twitter, and that'd be a good way to keep in touch with me if you're interested in that.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy Allen, for coming on. We appreciate it. And Evan, let's finish up with you. We got the stats from your race, and man, you guys are up again. Like, how much?
Yeah, it's been fun. We went from I think it was 180 or so thousand viewers average for the first 2. That jumped to 280,000, and I think this past week we had nearly 350,000 live stream views, and that's a combination of the main, I think, streaming platform that they're pushing is the NASCAR YouTube, which I think had about 8,000, 9,000 live at the start of the race, which is the most that I've seen of it. And of course, you got people who come in and out, and then you've got the Twitch feeds, and then it's also on iRacing's YouTube and their Facebook and Twitch, and NASCAR's Facebook. So, still kind of with that attack from all angles thing. So when you combine up all that viewership, 350,000 is not bad. I mean, that's that's kind of like an Xfinity or Truck Series number sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen IndyCar races. Hope for that. But with that being said, one more question. As we go later in the show, we're going to be talking about all these different efforts to put iRacing on network television by NBC and Fox. And they're literally trying all kinds of stuff, but it's all with the NASCAR stars and obviously other professionals. Is there any word or talk or discussion about getting the Coke Series on one of these television broadcasts?
Well, I know that iRacing would love that, because the whole idea with iRacing taking over the broadcast now, if you notice, when you watch our race on Tuesday and then you watch the Pro Invitational stuff on Sunday, it's actually the same graphics package. We're just swapping out iRacing logos for Fox logos. So when we did the All-Star races and then the Coke Series finale last year on NBC, NBC was actually having to do all the graphics. It was their ticker. They had to have like some ghost machines running iRacing to get that data, and it was a big challenge. But the way it is now is for Fox, it's all iRacing running it. So if a Fox or an NBC wanted to pick up the Coke Series, it would be kind of just the red tape and coming to an agreement, because it would be relatively easy for that to happen, just like it happens on Sundays now, and just as it's going to be happening next week. You mentioned some of the NBC stuff, and I'm sure you guys will talk about it. We announced the Short Track iRacing Challenge today. Everybody at iRacing's been so busy that they actually gave me a call and said, "Hey, can you organize this event?" So I've actually been the one going back and forth, kind of the de facto Tyler Hudson, if you will. I was getting the paints from the drivers and making sure the sponsors were happy, and hosting the league on iRacing and getting the drivers involved. So we've got 4 good afternoons of racing, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week on NBCSN, all at 7 o'clock Eastern time. You won't see me, you won't hear me, because we've got the NBC talent taking over for that. But just like on Sundays, I'm involved behind the scenes. So busier than it might seem on the outside.
Well, that's great in this age when you need work, and stuff to do. So I'm glad you find something to do out there, Evan. It sounds like a blast to be involved in those kind of things.
It is. It's cool to, when we do the Fox stuff, Drew Adamson's doing the producing on iRacing's end, but he's also on the phone with Fox, and Fox is kind of letting him know, when we got to get into commercial, and that's Mark Smith and everybody at Fox, who's the Fox producer, and I'm on the phone with them conference calling. So when a driver, needs to get up, Fox is telling me, and, we're kind of working. So it's cool to have that behind the scenes. We're working with the guys at NBC, Jeff and all of them, who we worked really closely with to make the stuff in the fall happen. So I went to school for journalism and media studies. So it's not just like the on-air stuff that I like I did, producing television stuff at school and that kind of stuff. So even when there's not always a booth opportunity available, especially now with all the stuff happening, my hand's always up. I'm like, you give me a task to do, I'll jump in. And I'll help, because I like kind of doing all those different roles, and I've learned a lot about iRacing in the last week, 2 weeks, I think, than maybe in the last 3-4 years combined, just with all the extra stuff that I've kind of volunteered to take on and help out with, and just try to make things run smoothly. Because I tell you guys, those folks at the office are absolutely swamped with so much work, and you've seen all of the art updates come into Texas last week, and now Bristol now for Sunday's broadcast, and I'll be on the call for the Saturday Night Thunder this upcoming weekend, where we've got the Xfinity and Truck and ARCA and the European and the Mexican series as well. If drivers want to compete from those series, they can race on Saturday. So it is all hands on deck, and that includes even people that aren't technically part of iRacing.
Yeah, and they're doing a great job, by the way, and make sure to let them know that it's been seamless. I mean, there hasn't been mistakes really, and iRacing has presented themselves very well.
It's been a ton of fun. I know that right when it happened, there was a lot of community events, and I know there's still a lot of those happening. And for the first week, people are like, well, iRacing, let's do something. And at that point, I had already known that there was World of Outlaws stuff and NASCAR and IndyCar. And there are still, that I can think off at the top of my head, that 2 more kinds of pro invitationals that are going to be happening next week. So not series that we have already seen happen, that are going to be happening in the next week, that are not public yet, that I'm going to be in the booth for and involved with. So there is still a lot coming. So it's been I can only tip my hat to them, and certainly I hope that everybody is appreciating what iRacing is doing, because I know that some of the drivers when it comes to the Sunday stuff want to get involved, and they maybe feel like they're being left out, but there's hundreds of drivers, dozens of leagues and series and network television, Fox, NBC, streaming online, all these different people that all want things, and I think they're doing a really, really good job of accommodating everybody and giving us all something to watch. Because if it's on a rare chance that I'm not involved in it, I'm tuning in on the TV and watching. So they're really working hard, and I hope that everybody's been enjoying what's happened so far, and of course what is still to come in these next few weeks.
Evan,
Yeah.
with the going back to what you were talking about, that iRacing is involved in all this stuff, and then with the background with the televising it, and then having, you have Fox and NBC, they're doing all the stuff on the overlays with it. Did iRacing take it over that way just so that they can control their own brand, like it's so that it's easier because they saw this coming, where they're going to have multiple things coming at them instead of trying to create 10 different ways to work for all these different companies? All these companies have to work for them, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was easier, but as well, like when we did that stuff in the fall, it took like a month and a half to get NBC's equipment, which is not really made to pull data from iRacing, to get all of their stuff to be able to get the information from the sim. And at that point, the broadcasts were starting to get big enough to where, we still have RaceSpot doing, technically it was a RaceSpot broadcast when we did the qualifier last Sunday morning, and this Saturday's technically RaceSpot behind the scenes, although it's just iRacing's branding. It's more so them controlling branding, but also just streamlining this. And thank goodness they did it over the winter, because if we had gotten to this point and Fox said, hey, we want to do this Pro Invitational Series, there was no way we were going to be able to get Fox's stuff to work with the iRacing service, unless iRacing already had this broadcast studio and this center set up at their new office and was ready. So I don't think they were expecting, obviously, this much to happen this quick, but it really ends up being very fortunate timing.
Yeah, that was some great foresight, actually, and it kind of worked out because I watched the dirt race and the IndyCar race and the IMSA race and all the stuff going on and all the different NASCAR stuff you're talking about, and it's just crazy that they're keeping up with it. And again, kudos on the job. Well done. So, Evan, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about the Coke race and everything going on. And looking forward to the next Coke race.
Yeah, happy to give some insights, not only on, of course, the stuff that happens on track, but as well kind of how it's all happening behind the scenes. And like I said, I'll do my very best to make room and always be here whenever you guys want to chat.
All right, thanks, Evan Pasoko. All right, let's jump on to the next topics. Chris, what's next?
That's a good question because I wasn't caught up on the script.
It's the NASCAR race, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually only got to see about the last 50 laps or so. I scheduled my lunch break to see what I could of it. It seems like they're learning. It's getting better.
Oh, yeah, I thought so. Let's talk about what happened before the race, though, leading up to it. We had Allgaier and Burton were talked about in the Jeb Burton. Were talked about on Dale Jr.'s website at jrmracing.com. Talking about their paints and getting our sponsors out there. And this has become more and more a sponsorship-driven opportunity. In fact, I saw just a couple hours ago, Timmy Hill announced a new sponsor for this coming virtual race this weekend. And so it's just really turned into regular business.
Well, and you wonder, and that's cool for Timmy Hill, and you have to wonder when all this is over if some of that doesn't spill over into his real racing. I mean, if he wins a couple more of these and the name's getting out there just like it would if he was winning a real race, and so he might end up with like a better real ride because of what he did in the sim.
Well, and if you think about it, the sim racing world, there isn't a real risk for these companies to do it. The risk is giving their brand to somebody and maybe trashing it verbally, but what's the actual, there's no cost. There could be a minor cost, but it's not going to be what it is to put on a normal NASCAR.
Right. And because there's no cost, is it cheaper? So that's a cheaper entry level for these sponsors.
But what also this does do, okay, so say that sponsor wants to come just into esports. Like, yeah, Timmy Hill um, goes back to NASCAR and the world goes back to the way it was, and iRacing still exists. Well, you got Coke drivers that could need sponsors. You got all kinds of other things if they're looking for esports. It could bring it just into esports, or it could bloom somewhere else.
Yeah, next up was Wood Brothers Racing did a kind of an article about what iRacing means to them and why they got involved as the first charter team in the Coke Series. And, part of their what they think, with the coronavirus and America kind of shutting down and, what's going on. And I thought it was a nice little article.
Yeah, it was a pretty good read, and just kind of, I don't know. I didn't really, until reading this, I didn't really know that they had been kind of, in the iRacing stuff for a while, and had people that had been in this, around.
Right. And then we got a picture leaked of the new Camaro nose. It actually got leaked and got put out last week in one of the patches.
I didn't know what this was. I saw the update the other day when I first got on Wednesday, and it was just for the car. And now I know. So is it just a visual thing?
It's visual. You've got this 2020 nose on it because the Cup car's got a new nose this year on the Chevy.
New nose and new data points, I guess, for the fenders or something. That the car was more aerodynamic with the way that the fenders were designed on the rear or the quarter panels. But I don't know if the quarter panels made it into that build.
Okay, and then we got different Cup car paint templates because they have a name and car number badge, whatever, on the dash.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I noticed this when we were racing last night. It kind of obviously my paint wasn't made for the sticker to be there, but even with that being the case, it still
looked
okay.
good.
Yeah, it still has your name and the number, and the colors were at least right. But that's a really cool thing to be adding for streamers and for streams of races. That way, when they pop into an in-car, you can easily see who's in it.
Well, and I think Bobby from our team, Bobby Jonas, called it right off the bat. He's like, it's definitely done for the televising, because when you're at Homestead, you didn't know what car they were riding on when they went on board unless they were telling you on the broadcast. So now, when they go on board, you know exactly where it's there on the broadcasts.
Yeah, my understanding is the broadcast of Fox drove this change. They asked iRacing to make the change. iRacing has done it. Now, this is the first time I know of that we've made a change to the sim car that wasn't in the real car.
Well, it's like having a sponsorship on the I don't think it's any different. The thing is I think in real life, by what car you get in. Like, they place all those sponsorship things for the cameras perfectly so that you can read them, so you kind of know which car you're riding on.
Right, so it's similar.
These are all generic inside cars, unless they look at the driver and he's got a paint. You recognize the driver's suit and stuff like that. But it's kind of the physical inside the car isn't the same as the outside part to recognizing in the sim.
So when the real Cup cars come back, my thought was we need to mandate this in the real cars too, just to make it consistent, or it's going to drive me crazy. We got a picture of Reddick's rig, Tyler Reddick, and what he's running. What did you guys think of his setup? He's got a pretty nice ultra-wide monitor.
That's about the only thing I like about it, honestly. I mean, I like a lot of 7 seats rigs, but this one I don't like having a computer mounted to your rig, because that just seems like a lot of vibration. It's going to mess up your computer. And there seems like there was one other thing that was kind of goofy about this rig, but I don't know.
It's like the cheaper sim seat one.
It's a small.
Pro should have better.
Right?
Yeah, that could be it. That could be part of it. Like I said, maybe for an apartment or something. I mean, I don't like having my computer on a rig where you're going to have all that vibration.
If I was Tyler Reddick, I would have, if he's buying this, I would have just gone for the full ultra wide one, the really bigger one there, but that's a nice, decent. It's probably what, a 32-inch. But I agree with you, Chris. There's a lot of unneeded with when you mount that sideways on top of something like there. It's not even the vibration. It's like, imagine where's the heat pointing out? Like, is it pointing out at the wall there? Is it pointing down at your feet? Is it pointing up?
Good point. I mean, it's sideways, right? And, I mean,
I don't know about you guys. I've never liked mounting a computer down like that, but I don't know. That's just me.
okay, next up, the mini documentary that NASCAR put together on their YouTube channel about the race and from the previous week. And it's just kind of like all the social media video of all the NASCAR drivers and what they did before and during and after, and just kind of all linked together in like a 7-minute video.
It was a really good video. This is like one you showed somebody that doesn't know what
what's going on, right?
Is. Yeah, it was perfect for that.
It kind of reminds me of what would be in a pre-race show, right? Like, it'd be, the first 30 minutes before a race, they would show something like that to get you caught up from previous weeks, right?
Yeah. And then Troy Aikman was named Grand Marshal. And by the way, what was wrong with his eyeball?
I didn't catch the beginning of it.
Yeah, one of his eyes was like bloodshot red.
Maybe he had a popped blood vessel or something.
Yeah, look, that's what it looked like. Yeah, and
Maybe
then
because he practiced beforehand the way he was doing that race and he blew a blood vessel.
and then Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead performed the national anthem. I thought that was cool too. The other big announcement before the race was NASCAR has arranged to distribute the Pro Invitational Series esports event to around 165 countries and territories worldwide across 25 different broadcast networks and 400 million TV homes. Holy
Definitely.
cow.
The further that we get into this, people staying home, this could actually, those numbers are going to start increasing of watching.
That's a lot of eyeballs on iRacing.
Well, the global reach, this is like Formula One distribution, guys. This is big.
Well, they're trying to capitalize. There's a lot of people at home. There's a lot of people looking for something to do. And there's a demographic in that they need to get, you got to get younger people into it. And you got to hold the older audience on too, I guess. But you got to get people excited about it. And the only way to do it is try and just flood the market.
Well, that's exactly what's happening. And, what's interesting, too, is their regular product of real racing, like the Daytona 500, that's not enough to get global distribution. It has to be an e-race to get global distribution, apparently. But it's like you said, it's all due to the coronavirus stuff, and everybody's home.
And,
Yeah,
iRacing's really it, right? That's all I've seen. Other that and horse racing. That is literally all I've seen.
The Australian rugby, I think it's Australian football is also the only other thing that's going on right now.
Yeah,
But they're doing it without fans.
Yeah, it's the same as the horse racing. There's nobody actually there.
So some of the countries, I'm just going to read off a handful. Czech Republic, Slovakia, Malaysia, France, Belgium, Turkey, India, Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Australia, Mexico, Russia, Bulgaria, Poland, UK, Portugal, Australia, Switzerland, Germany. That's only half of them.
The other reason they're doing this is because iRacing isn't just NASCAR. Like, iRacing could be, they have so many different disciplines here that could speak to somebody. They don't have to see this. They go on the website and they see all these other things that you can do in it, and it helps back. I don't know, maybe iRacing is talk to them about doing this or something too, because you can get a lot more subscriptions, not to just come in and play, run the cup cars. You got all our other disciplines on there they could do, especially for Europeans that want to race and things like that don't like ovals like we do.
Right. Crazy to think about it. I haven't heard about actual stats from the global side yet at all, but surely there was some impact there. The next big story before the race was Greg Biffle is back, so he did get a ride. But my question is, what happened to Chris Buescher?
Ouch.
Ouch, right. I mean, it's Chris Buescher's ride. He was in the race last week, and now Biffle was in the race this week.
I have a feeling like I was listening to some other podcast and they were talking about that, you know, they're getting their ratings because they have the names of these drivers. They probably could have a lot more. They were talking about the names that were missing from these things. So obviously adding Greg Biffle into it, he's a name that's been around for a long time. Like you at least have Jeff Gordon broadcasting, so that's a big name. You're missing guys though like Harvick and Truex and I mean, it doesn't sound like Truex sounds like he wants to race.
Brad.
He just can't. Like, it surprised me. Like, I didn't realize. I thought all the Penske guys were in it, and then I realized, oh, it was only Blaney. Because was Keselowski in the first one?
Well, all three of them were. No, it was Brad and Joey. Joey, yeah, they were in the first one.
On TJ, because Joey was on TJ's rig.
Right.
But Joey isn't gonna. It doesn't sound like Joey's gonna get involved at all through the rest of it because he doesn't want to invest in it or whatever.
Actually, I think he's supposed to come back next week because I think on the Dale Jr. download, I think Junior C was losing a spotter again.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's talk about the race. I'm going to go on a mini rant here. From an iRacer's perspective, if I was a driver in this race, I'd be fuming about why some wrecks cause cautions and other wrecks do not. When I watch this race, it reminds me of why I don't run leagues when the admins throw cautions for their friends. Now, with that in mind, I have no idea what the pressures are for Tyler Hudson and race control to hit a certain time frame, etc. I'm sure there's other considerations that we, as viewers, who happen to know intimately what and what doesn't bring out a caution. Ultimately, I think they need to hold a more pure line on when to throw and not throw a caution based on what NASCAR would normally do. So that's my rant. What do you guys think?
I think what they need to do is, I know they were afraid from the first week the amount of cautions that they did have, and it was just a feeling out process. It's the same with, you know, any racing on here that has cautions. Some races go good, some don't. But I think what they need to do next time is err on the side of caution and throw them. Don't you know, they let a car will spin and be on the track in NASCAR and they'll throw the caution. So why, anytime there's a car doing something, they probably should throw the caution, unless he's way off the track and out of the way.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that were really bad, but I bet it'll be better next week. They probably...
It was Bristol.
Like Mike said, it was... Yeah, and it was probably something like they maybe didn't have the right person at the right button or something. But yeah, I'm sure that kink will get worked out.
I mean, there were times where you would see on the broadcast them pile up in the back and the track completely blocked and no caution. Or it would be a delayed caution. It would the caution should have came out and 1, 2, 10 seconds later, oh, there's the caution.
That was was it the first one that should have come out? Like Kyle Busch was driving around with no front end after the wreck and everybody was way back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's talk good things now. The top 20 timing and scoring on the left side most of the time, that was awesome. I thought that was missing a little bit in the previous race, and it looks like they might have heard me on that. But it was good to see people that were coming and going just to kind of see where your driver was running kind of thing. I thought the in-car with the new label, name label, and the number was a success. Like I said, I hope they add them to the real cars. And there were green flag stops, man. We didn't expect that after seeing that first race, but there were. And what was entertaining was them really squirrely getting on the pit road.
They all did a hell of a job trying to get those cars straight on pit road. That is one of the hardest things. I don't know what you guys feel, but in iRacing, green flag pit stops on old tires is probably one of the hardest things to get the car down if you want to do it quickly. If you just take your time and get on pit road and lose a whole bunch of time to somebody else, that's fine and get on pit road. But when you're trying to do it and actually get, gain some time on somebody it is really hard to get on it into pit road and then off of it.
Well, these guys probably have their brake bias cranked way down too, because that's there's probably not a whole lot of adjustments they can make to these fixed setups. So that probably didn't help matters any.
Yeah, and then Daniel Suarez was in the 96 car. He was actually shown on screen trying to intentionally wreck another racer. I think it was Dylan. And he actually missed him and wrecked himself. And then immediately race control disqualified him, like completely removed him from the server. Not even a minute later, Steve O'Donnell, the vice president of NASCAR, tweeted out on his Twitter, Suarez to the virtual hauler.
I hope he gets relegated to the races next week. I hope he's not a guaranteed in.
Well, I wanted to ask you about what does iRacing do about this? This is kind of a protestable incident. Do they not do anything but unless somebody files a protest? And then on the other hand, there's so many people that saw it. Surely somebody filed a protest just to see what would happen.
Well, I bet it's probably more in NASCAR's hands than iRacing at this point. They'll probably leave up to them what they want to do. But yeah,
Put him on the shelf.
Yeah, for sure. And it's got to be embarrassing to him. But that was such a terrible swing and a miss. Like, yeah, you don't try to wreck somebody on a straightaway. That was dumb. You do it in the corner. Wait till they slow up and you plow into him, idiot.
It's hard enough to drive straight on that straightaway there, let alone wreck somebody.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was so obvious too. So that was interesting to watch. I think we've all seen it as iRacers, but to see it happen with these NASCAR people, I don't know. I think I kind of identified with it in some way or shape or form.
See, the other thing is if in real life, if Suarez or Dylan didn't have an on-car and they got lucky they were on the track somewhere where no camera was looking at them, he could maybe get away with doing it if it all of a sudden didn't get caught. But on iRacing, every car is logging data that you can go back at any point and watch it.
Right, every replay is saved. Yep, but it was actually shown live. Evan and those teams that were doing the cameras caught it live. Actually,
they've done a really good job of doing that, by the way, too. With catching that stuff and the cameras and the replays. Like, that's something that's hard to master on iRacing. And like a lot of the pros that we have doing it for years still have problems with it.
All right.
Well, and it's also interesting to hear from Evan how it's done now, where it's done by iRacing.
Yep. Pass for the win was Timmy Hill doing a bump and run on William Byron. It almost looked like, to me, Byron touched the apron ever so slightly, and Timmy was right on him for almost the entire lap, but he was right on the bumper. So I don't think it was intentional like NASCAR and everybody afterwards kind of made it out to be, as a kind of a bump and run. I think William kind of slipped.
I honestly think that's that feeling you get when you're driving, say, on one of the restrictor plate tracks and you're at the wrong angle on that right side, and you kind of hook them just a bit. And I think that's what happened, and he was lucky that it didn't just shoot him right into the wall. But that was pretty much what I think it was what it was. It was a bump, but I think it was netcode doing the bump, not actually. I don't think he was physically fully on him.
Yeah, somewhere I saw a replay of the Timmy Hill onboard, and dude, he is ruthless though. I mean, he was right on this bumper, coming out through 3 and 4, all the way down the front and into 1 before they made contact in 2. I mean, he was within 2 or 3 inches. I mean, so if he had slipped at all, he was going to get him.
Yeah, and who was it that was behind him, too? Because that was the thing, man. He was right up on...
Well, he had to go. It was go time.
Yeah, and, I can't remember who it was behind him after Timmy Hill made that pass, but they couldn't duplicate that. I mean, they couldn't get up on him like he was on Byron. So, yeah, he won that race.
What's his name? The other race. I can't think of his name now. He's the one...
Smithley.
Yeah, Smithley.
Yeah, good run with him.
Got to that, but yeah, he would have done the same thing if he could have got to it. He couldn't.
Yeah, well, look at all the publicity this week that it's been going on. Timmy Hill's been talked about all week.
Yeah, that's food on his plate, that little bumper.
And what a fine young man Timmy Hill is. Former Coke driver. obviously a NASCAR driver, but really able to showcase his talent when he's never had the right ride to actually do it.
I would say even now, you just doesn't have the right ride in a real car, but even on the sim, he has probably the cheapest setup of anybody else out there racing.
Yeah. Well done, Timmy. He does represent iRacers well, I think, and a wheelman for sure. I also thought it seemed like the iRacing veterans migrated to the front of everybody else. So if you looked at the running order at the end, the people in the top 10 to 15 were people that are involved in iRacing. And people that are new to iRacing, they were behind that group. It really did play out that way.
Yeah, I think you're going to keep seeing that too. I mean, the guys that are, it is a skill, and these guys have been doing it for a long time, and they're going to keep rising to the top. And I think Byron will definitely be one of the ones that is going to be hard to beat every single week because he's an iRacer and a real racer, best of both worlds. He's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I'm worried about this week.
So that was Timmy Hill's 674th iRacing win. I thought that was interesting. We also had some post-race coverage. Let's go through that. We heard from Vince Welch that the camera people for iRacing, one is in California and the other is actually in Australia. Thought that was interesting. We had
the best thing about this is you can be anywhere and do it, right?
Right. The internet's pretty awesome, huh? And then a nice NASCAR.com article about Timmy Hill. It has that on board if you want to see it that I was talking about. And like I said, ruthless, man. I don't think I would even do that going for the win, but he was trying to get to him. Driver reactions on Instagram. NASCAR on Fox put up video of all the drivers, giving their kind of post-race interview. And then what about Radioactive, guys? It blew up. I found 5 different Radioactives.
I didn't get to listen to it this week, man. I want to hear. It was like another 7-minute clip of like their iRacing chat. I want that chat all the way through it because it's got to be the best ever.
Yeah, so E.G. O'Rourke on YouTube put up one like he did before, and it's kind of an unofficial one. And I kind of like his the best because he doesn't focus on certain things. He just covers whatever is happening in the race. And then NASCAR on Fox put together one. Dirty Mo Media put together one that was kind of focused on Dale. And who else? Denny Hamlin actually put together one too.
The NASCAR on Fox one at the beginning when now the drivers are getting ready and doing their little thing. Bowman still cracks me up. He's like, people aren't taking me seriously. He's got sponsors logos on his head.
Right. He's been kind of entertaining on the social media throughout this thing.
I think Freddie Kraft said that he thought Bubba Wallace would be radio sweetheart this week. Was he on there a lot?
Oh, yeah, we heard, from Bubba for sure. Yeah, he's not shy to be on the mic. Other media I heard post-race was Jeff Gluck's podcast, The Teardown. And he's covering it like any other NASCAR race. All these media are. And I tell you what, the first thing that Jeff Gluck talks about on his podcast is the caution flags. And what I was talking about, where when you have somebody like Jeff Gluck even notice it, and he's not in iRacing at all, it's bad. I mean, they got to fix that.
Well, the good thing is they, he draws attention to it, so it's something that they can learn from, right?
Yeah, and so he certainly noticed that the cautions weren't coming out when they should be in certain situations, and based on his experience in NASCAR, and he kind of, talked about it. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. The other thing that we saw was an article from West Virginia Gazette. Ryan Pritt, who's obviously on the beat reporter over there, wrote up a a nice little article about his perspective of watching these races. And he kind of gives a play-by-play of how it went down at his house while he's watching NASCAR. Kind of fun. And then Bagley from MRN, Mike Bagley, put out on Twitter his points tally. I don't know where he got it, but somebody's keeping points because apparently iRacing isn't. I actually went and looked. I couldn't find the series to see if there were series points. But the points are Timmy Hill, Dale Jr., Garrett Smithley, Ryan Preece, Alex Bowman in the top 5, and then Landon Castle, Denny Hamlin, Parker Kligerman, and Matthew Denabetto, Clint Boyer 10th. And Timmy's leading by 4 points.
Clint Boyer's 10th. When I was reading that, I'm like, really? Clint Boyer's been in everything. I mean, he's like the best in-race broadcaster, though.
Yeah, stats, we heard an average of 638,000 homes, 903,000 viewers tuned into the race, making it the most watched linear esports broadcast in history. 1.6 million unique viewers watched the broadcast for at least 6 minutes. Viewers tuned in for an average of 59 minutes, more than half of the 112-minute broadcast. Then the broadcast also exposed NASCAR to new viewers, bringing in 255,000 viewers who have never watched a NASCAR Cup Series this year.
Sounds like a lot.
So if you're saying the average person was for 59 minutes, so that would be, it was like, what, an hour and a half race? I don't
Almost.
remember how long that. Yeah, so you're thinking people came in because somebody's like, oh, go turn this on, it's on right now, kind of thing, right? You know, somebody's saying,
And they left it on.
Watch that, and then they just left it on.
That's the thing, they didn't change the channel.
That's a lot to get somebody's attention for an hour these days, that's for sure. That's saying something for them.
Well, and who would thought that what you're watching isn't, you know, is it's real people with, you know, simulated stuff. Like it's kind of mind-boggling when you actually think of all this stuff that's been going on in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and then JR Motorsports, they published some additional information. It says, where did it go? Here it is. Social media. The March 22nd event was the most social TV program of the day on Twitter, generating 217,000 interactions and 912,000 video views just on social media. So the numbers are nuts, guys. They're both blown up.
I can't remember what it was the week before either, but I mean, I'd say a big jump. I imagine we'll probably see the same this week, especially with it being Bristol. Short track time.
Let's talk IndyCar next. Greg.
So we're going to start off with a little bit of pre-race stuff here. 4-time Ray Alfala posted on his Facebook page that he was, you know, doing some training with 7-time to get ready for a race this weekend at Watkins Glen, I guess.
Jimmy Johnson,
and enjoying taking some laps. Obviously, that photo that we've got here on our thing was pre-build because that doesn't have an aero screen on it.
Yep.
But speaking of that, going into the next article into the pre-race stuff, the new release of the aero screen on the IndyCar, and oh man, I don't know about you guys, but I really like the way that these cars look. This is probably one of the nicest additions to the cars. Like, I always thought everyone's kind of like has different opinions on what they think of this aero screen on an open cockpit car, but I just really think that as a safety precaution, the best looking thing that they could done, they did do on these cars.
Yeah, it does make it look real sporty to me. I just love the look of it.
It's like a futuristic feel.
Yeah, it looks like a rocket.
I can't wait for the Indy 500 to see these cars at Indy. I think it's just going to be magical. Beautiful cars.
Now, this one I missed this announcement here, Mike. So at the Road to Indy announced iRacing series. So that's
Yeah, racer.com.
So basically, it was just Jimmy Johnson's going racing in the IndyCar series. They're promoting it.
No, what I mean is
sorry,
they're having a different thing where so the development platform for IndyCar will return to racing virtually starting Saturday, March 28th. They're having the IndyCar iRacing Challenge, as they call it, and it's a total of 30 Road to Indy drivers who will mix it up with a few veterans, as 4 team owners and former drivers have entered the fray, including Ricardo Juncos of Juncos Racing, David Martinez of DE Force Racing, Peter Dempsey of Turn 3 Motorsport, and Louis Meyer of Legacy Autosport. They're also going to have Rob Howden, the official voice of Road to Indy, doing commentary.
Okay, so now I understand. I've missed this whole announcement until now. So it's basically like our oval Road to Pro. Now you got the Road to Pro Indy then.
Well, it's just their feeder series, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay, I kind of mixed it in here with another article. That's why I got it wrong.
Yeah, they're going iRacing like everybody else. It's crazy.
Awesome. It's just more eyeballs again and more things to just. There's so much content that is going on. It's kind of crazy how iRacing is juggling all this stuff.
And so the race was Saturday, man. I'll put my comments first. I loved it. Typical IndyCar race, I thought. It could have been longer, so we could have had some pit strategy. That would have been the only thing I wished for. But with the call from familiar voices like Diffie, Bell, and Paul Tracy, it was so familiar. I mean, it was just amazing. And my comment at the end was, we need full course cautions, though.
Now, I kind of had the same feeling to you. The only thing that kind of I like the Diffie, Bell, and Tracy in the style that they did it. And I know it's obviously logistics and things that's going on right now. We shouldn't have people in the studio or together. Even the one with the way they do it with the NASCAR start, it is kind of infringing on how close they should be in the studio together. But it did have a little bit of a different feel knowing that they were in one was in his home, one was in his other home across, on 2 different sides of the state, all away from each other. It kind of had a little bit of a different feel to it to me than what the NASCAR is. But obviously it's their first race. They were doing it a different way. They're learning some stuff on it. Yeah,
absolutely. But it was good, and it felt to me like a normal race. I kind of got tired in the middle, and but what about Sage Karam? And I actually called it. Sage Karam was going to win that race because he is the iRacer, and he's on one of the good teams too.
Well, and the thing is, that whole race kind of reminded me of a typical. If you took all the names out of it and just had a normal Indy race, it kind of reminded me of any normal Indy race. With the way it played out, cars broke away. There was kind of some passing. There wasn't a lot of stuff, but then a guy would go for a pass and blow the corner, and then wad them both up, and maybe take a couple other cars. There were some unneeded accidents, but I do agree with you. It would have been nice to have some cautions there to actually force the passing.
Yeah. Post-race, NBC Sports did a very similar kind of driver interview post-race website with a bunch of videos from all the various drivers and what they thought about what happened, and that was pretty cool to check that out. And Code Brown for our winner, Sage Karam, he actually put up on his Twitter his in-car of a video where a lap car in front of him spun literally right in front of him, and he almost got collected. It was so close.
Did you notice when he's looking straight at that car when it's sideways, he has this quick moment where he thinks about going right and then all of a sudden goes to the left? It's like, I probably that car probably, by the way.
Holy sugar!
Well,
I don't even what. Holy cow, man!
Goes left.
And it's those reflex. He races
curse.
online so much he knows,
He doesn't have.
by instinct what to do. And that's why he's so freaking good.
Oh, holy sugar! Well, I don't even. What the?
They're going to go into 20
Holy
tracks,
cow,
but I
man.
honestly don't think there's anyone you probably shouldn't be betting on, but he should be obviously I would say he's probably going to be the hard one to take out for the rest of these races. He's going to be the winner.
Well,
probably, if they don't.
Felix kept him pretty honest. He's pretty much stayed close.
But if you never saw Sage, it's like he almost was maintaining. He was saving tires and he was maintaining that
Just
gap
maintaining
whole
the
time.
gap, right? Just riding.
So I don't know if he was actually giving. He looked pretty calm in his in-car and on his stream and stuff like that. So, these guys are so good. Like, me and you could, we couldn't save tires and try and maintain a gap. I would be trying my hardest and probably blowing the tires off of it.
Stats were published 600,000 views, and that's online only. That wasn't on television. So that's good numbers. I mean, I've seen IndyCar races in the past not get 600,000.
And like they said, the whole craziness around this is that Aeroscreen's debut. Its first debut is online and being watched.
That's true. I didn't realize that.
It was never. We never got to see an IndyCar race with it raced in yet.
Right, St. Pete never happened.
No, and who knows if we'll see it this year? Like, how long into the season is this? What's going to happen? Going to go?
Then we got news of IndyCars coming back.
Yeah, it's good to see that it's going to be back next Saturday, and they're going to be from Barber Motorsport Park in Alabama. So the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, and yeah, it's going to be televised by NBC Sports. Is that SN is Sports?
Yep, 2:30 Eastern.
So yeah, 2:30 Eastern, and it'll be good to see this now added to a broadcast schedule. So you got, okay, now you know what you're gonna do on Saturday, and now you gotta know what you're doing Sunday, and it's really nice.
It's like
to see
back to
all-
normal.
Yeah, it's for me, like, I'm a huge sports fan in general, but I mean, racing is one of my passions, and I miss sports crazy right now, and this stuff right here kind of makes things seem a little bit better.
Yeah, The Verge covered it. USA Today did a feature article about IndyCar going to NBCSN. It's going to be a good show. I'm excited to see how Sage does.
Well, and that's a tough track, so it'll be a good race. So I look forward to. I'll have that. The nice thing is now it's on TV. You can PVR it too if you're gonna miss it.
Good point. Okay, Chris, let's keep the fun going. World of Outlaws Sprint Car.
Yeah, our iRacing World of Outlaws NOS Energy Sprint Car World Championship race at Lernerville this week was on Dirt Vision, which is really cool. And it's the same race that we would normally watch. I wish I would have looked more into how the race went and who won it. I didn't. I don't even know who won that race because I was more interested in the race they had before that. At 7 o'clock, they usually have our World Outlaws race at 9. At 7 that night, they had a late model race and brought in, I believe Larson was in that, and they brought in some other real-life dirt guys, including Scott Bloomquist, who is, well, when I started watching this stuff 20 years ago, he was the old...
He was the guy to beat.
Yeah, he was the guy to beat, and he was also kind of a dick, and he was, but also drove the coolest car, and still probably does drive the coolest car out there. And but he was in the race. He did make the main event.
No.
But I don't know he did that much of a show. But he put up a video after he had practiced some laps and talked about how much fun it was. And I don't know that you could get a higher praise than what you could from him. Because like I said, he was the last guy I would expect to even get on the sim. And the fact that he did and had so much fun doing it, I mean, that's just high praises, I think.
Now I watched some dirt racing here on Fox Sports 1. I think it was Wednesday before the NIS race. But it was awesome. I mean, Adam Alexander, Clint Boyer, they had Kyle Larson in studio but racing on the simulator in the studio. Christopher Bell in the race as well. And man, to see Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson mixing it up there, and the racing was great at Lernerville. I mean, it was the first time I think I've seen that track broadcast like that. They don't have a wall; it's just a lip of dirt, and you can actually go over that lip and just kind of go out and never land. But great racing, outside, inside, and Christopher Bell again showing off his huge talent to ride the cushion on dirt. And that's how he was just like pumping it on the outside. And man, I was just so entertained.
Yeah, so that Wednesday night, you're getting your races crossed. That was actually at the Charlotte dirt track.
Oh, is that what that was? Okay.
Yeah, but that was great racing, and you could kind of see that 720p limit of the Fox broadcast in that one. I thought Jeff Gordon was talking before the race how wonderful it looked, and I was thinking, man, it looks better on my computer. But yeah, in the broadcast, you're right. What perfect people to have in the booth. I mean, Gordon's been great through all this stuff. I don't know if he's really having as much fun as it sounds like he is, but he's been great. And he had sprint car experience, and then you had Boyer, who had experience in the late models. I mean, they both did a great job, and perfect broadcast team.
Yeah, and then Ron Capps, the NHRA drag racer, he was in the race, and David Gravel and Brad Sweet, and like you said, Bloomquist, and all these big names from dirt. I thought it was a great show. I loved it.
Yeah, and I thought the biggest story was probably Kevin Swindell, because he was racing, and I should remember which race it was, but he can't use his legs, and so he was racing. He's back, in these cars with hand controls, and had a pretty decent race too. So it was just really, really cool to see.
Yeah.
And Johnny Gibson calling the races. I mean, he's the voice of dirt racing. I mean, it was spectacular. Like,
that was a nice touch.
Yeah, it was great. Like, the only thing I complained about really would probably be the quality. Like, so I really wish we could have seen it in a higher quality, because it really didn't showcase what iRacing truly has for dirt.
At first, I was like, "Oh, how's this going to work?" Adam Alexander and Clint Boyer are going to do play-by-play. I didn't think it was going to work because they don't know who the people are. But then they brought in that guy Johnny, who is, like you said, the voice of World of Outlaw, and it was kind of neat the way they covered the race. Is they let him talk during the racing action and cover the actual racing, and then on cautions it would go into a kind of a commentary, kind of a fun discussion between Adam and Clint and Kyle.
Yeah, and another thing to make note of, you saw how well Kyle Larson. He apparently had no engine noise in his rig, and so he was trying to drive a dirt car without engine noise. And Boyer made a comment that he's hoping he gets that stuff straightened out, because I guess he's had a lot of audio issues during his races as well.
That's got to be impossible. You can't hear the pitch of the engine, so you don't know what. Yeah, that's got to be hard.
Yeah, I don't know how he did. I don't know how he kept it going in the right direction, but yeah, he ran that well, like top 3 and top 5 in both of those cars all night without being able to hear his engine.
Here's the thing that blew me away about Christopher Bell winning that sprint car race. He did it in the way that he does it in real life. He's got that signature style, so to speak, and it came across in the virtual race. You could tell by just looking at the track, hey, that is Christopher Bell by the way he's running.
Yeah, and I wonder if Larson wouldn't have been up there with him too if it wasn't for the technical difficulty, because he said that he couldn't run the top, and that was what I was thinking. I'm like, Bell was doing it just fine, and he wasn't quite up there on that cushion like Bell was, and that's probably why.
Yeah, and then Trent Ivey won the late model race. I didn't see the end of that, but I really enjoyed the sprint car race, and looking forward. So Fox Sports every Wednesday is going to run these or other events on Wednesday nights. This is going to be an ongoing thing. Okay, let's keep going. Next story. I'm going to try to become a pro sim racer. What does it cost to get started? And we got a thedrive.com put up an article. If I can find it, there it is. And this guy who writes this long article basically talks about how to get started, as far as getting a computer, building one, buying one, wheel and pedals, where do you want to start out? He talks about the different graphics cards and pricing. It's really a great read for somebody who's trying to get involved in iRacing for the first time. This is one of the better articles I've seen on it. So if you have new people coming to the sim, guys, send them over to thedrive.com and find that article. It's got some great stuff. Okay, Greg, we got another tidbit, first week of June.
Well, everybody that's been waiting for it, it sounds like it's coming. I guess this post that we have is from NASCAR on NBC's Twitter. North Wilkesboro Speedway, a track that has been sat mostly, has been sitting since 1996, is coming to iRacing. I guess they announced on it, but we already knew about that. But this is the first we've heard that it sounds like it'll be ready for the June build.
Yep.
As per Steve Myers.
Yep, it'll be in the June build, according to Steve. They got a quote from him, so hashtag soon.
That would be fun. If I remember, that's a pretty wide short track.
The other thing, sorry.
Go ahead.
The other thing that's hashtag soon, Chris, was work on the damage model for the A car.
Actually, this article was about the tires. So they have a lot of stuff that they're trying to kind of rush out the door for these NASCAR races, and one of them is tire limits. And so
that's right, tire limits.
Yeah, Tony Gardner did post up, say he said some progress. 2 engineers working on their parts for this project, but being juggled with a few other things that have to be done by then. Hopefully soon. We know it's a big request. So we're going to get some benefit from this stuff. Some of these things are going to get rushed out to us really quick, and that's nice since we're primarily racing those cars. Yeah, it could be. We could have a lot more kind of quick shutdowns like today with the emergency bug fixes as they're trying to rush this stuff out the door. But yeah, kudos to them. They have got to have their hands full.
I'm a kind of mixed feelings about tire limits. I just say as long as we do whatever the real life counterparts do, as long as we match that.
They have tire limits. It's just they never seemed Goodyear never makes a tire soft enough for them to ever get to that point. I was watching on one of the rewinds of one of the races from years ago, the race that the big fight with Jeff Gordon and Brad Keselowski. That race is the last race that's been there for a while, where teams ran out of tires. They gave them one more set, and then they ran out of that set, and some guys had to go back to go into scuffs for the end of that race.
Well, their races are short enough here. I don't even know that the tire limit's that big of a deal, and it seems like it's just something else that they're going to have to juggle when they're trying to learn the sim. But I think it's almost more of a perception thing. Like when you're on TV, you don't want to see these guys have 10 cautions and take 10 sets of tires,
Pit every, 5 laps pit, 5 laps pit, yeah. So the next article is the one about the damage model. Denny Hamlin on Twitter actually was saying how fantastic it would be if we could get it in the Cup car, referring to the K&N video of the new damage model. Steve Myers replied, "Guys have been burning the candle on both ends to get the Cup cars ready ASAP after watching how you guys enjoy wadding up these pixel cars."
So from what that sounds like, it is going to be a hot fix, not a...
Yeah, they're rushing that out, yep.
The other thing, if you notice, Denny Hamlin has been in a lot of these pushing forward things that he's been trying to, get. Like, didn't he make a comment about the cars when they get airborne? They feel like they're only 200 pounds when they should be heavier.
Yep.
I I totally agree with what his comment there was. Like, he seems to be very. It's like he was very distant from iRacing, and then all of a sudden this has brought him back to where he was when he was
think it's
like
time.
NASCAR 2003 days, right?
You've got time to focus on it now. Yeah, it's cool to have Denny involved like that. Let's keep moving. Greg, Supercars has news.
So, the Supercars is going to run a series. They have their official sponsor for the BP Fuels. Signed on as the title sponsor for the All-Star East Series. So what it is it's a, per the agreement, it's actually a 10-round championship race that I guess it'll be the BP Supercar All Stars E Series. All 25 Virginia, Australia, Virgin Australia Supercar Championship drivers will take part via the iRacing platform.
That's
driving
awesome.
both of them. So now they've got
all of them.
So now you're going. See, now we're going across the pond now to do all this stuff, right?
What I like about what Supercars did is they're putting all their drivers in. It's mandatory. Everybody does it. I wish NASCAR would have done that with their Pro Invitational.
See, I think this seems like it's more because it's sponsored by, I think that's their sponsor in Supercar Series anyways, right? So that's their title sponsor. I'm guessing this could be owner driven, right? Like you're told to do it.
Yeah, and it's going to be broadcast on Fox Sports, KO, 10 Play, and Sky Sports New Zealand, as well as streamed as well.
So the first round is April 8th at the iconic Phillip Isle. So that'll be awesome.
Okay, let's keep moving. Chris, we had a record amount of people.
Yeah, a tweet Sunday by Trading Paints saying they noted there were 16,000 people on the sim.
At the same time.
Yeah, at the same time. Yeah, with that little ticker it says bottom of the screen when you're at the website. And man, this is going to be a lot higher. I mean, it's just we're going to keep setting record numbers. This is going to be way higher over the weekend. This was Sunday. And I looked when we started the podcast. This was around 8:30 on a Thursday, and we were flirting pretty close to that number. So yeah, come this weekend, we'll break 20,000.
We're at 14.5 now.
Yeah. See.
So through 2019, I want to say the number was always like 3,000 or 4,000.
I can't remember ever seeing double digit like 10,000. Even can you even like on a like an NIS like a
right? You're right.
It floats around like 3,000 to 5,000 a lot of the time. Like that's what the normal was for the longest time.
Yeah, our Indy 500s, our our 24-hour race. I don't remember ever seeing it getting anywhere like I said, anywhere close to that.
I love it. It's crazy. All right, let's keep moving. Daniel Zach put up in the forums the obvious question, throwing an idea out there that maybe it's been thought of, but I wonder how an exhibition race would look with 20 iRacing eNASCAR Pro Coke Series drivers versus 20 real-life NASCAR drivers, and just discussion take place accordingly. We actually did get a response from Keegan Leahy, who's one of those Coke drivers. He said, "We do the practice races. Last one I was in, I had William Byron fighting for the lead. Then the rest of the top 10 was all the iRacing Coke pros. Hate to say it, but we would stink up the show. But it would be nice to have at least one representative from our Coke series in there, like last year's champion Zach Novak, or maybe our current points leader Bobby, or even myself." So what do you guys think? Would that embarrass the NASCAR drivers to get beat by these guys?
It would be a terrible show. Yeah, I agree with them. They would it would be the iRacing guys in the front and the NASCAR guys in the back. It's just you've seen it with the few we do have. Yeah, the few we do have. Like Dale Jr. comes out of retirement and they're running top fives. I mean, those guys are going to rise to the top. It wouldn't be much of a show.
And Dale and Denny and those guys have said as much, too. They said, hey, these guys are better. and we know it.
Yeah, I mean, the iRacing guys deserve that TV time, but yeah, it just wouldn't be a good show. But they're gonna have. I mean, the people that are watching this are gonna figure out that the guys run the E Series can put on a better show. You know, we had in the E whatever it's called, Coca-Cola Racing Series this year. We've had probably less cautions in the entire season than what they had in our race this weekend or the first race.
Right. Yep. All right, let's keep moving. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
No, well, I was just gonna say that I think if you compare it to anything, like if you took these NASCAR drivers and took them and swapped them with IndyCar drivers, or put 20 NASCAR drivers with 20 IndyCar drivers and swapped them back and forth in between the Cup and IndyCar series, you'd have the same thing. It'd look the same, right? Like it.
Right, but Keegan Leahy and the 11, right?
Your discipline is your discipline, right? Like Kyle Busch has probably shown the most versatility as a driver over the years, but he's still running ovals and things like that. It's not the fact of switching series to series.
Yeah. Yeah, put Keegan in the Denny Hamlin FedEx 11 and put him out there and see how he does. You know, it'd probably be the other way around. All right, let's keep moving. A great video. I love this one, Chris. I put it up on our chat, I think, a couple times because it's so unbelievable.
Yeah, and where's this at? Where's this bus stop at?
I think it's Daytona.
Yeah, but so Matzel89 tweeted up these IndyCars going into the bus stop with this new damaged model. Every single car goes into the bus stop, not a single car comes out. So you just have a pile of new damaged model wreckage.
Like the entire field piles in, like literally.
And you see this wreck happening, and not a single one of them thinks to go straight and avoid this penalty. They just all plow right into it. It's spectacular.
The best car is I think it's like the third or fourth car from the end ends up going over top of like almost all the cars.
Well, obviously, yeah, they did it intentionally, but it worked, and I was like, wow, nobody drove out of that.
It was intentional. That makes more sense. I'm like, somebody had to be able to miss this.
I like and we have a caution as one of the tweets.
All right, next up, Greg, a hotfix #1 and several other patches.
Before we go to that, do you think NASCAR would have thrown the caution for that?
You think Tyler Hudson would have? I don't know.
Sorry, Tyler, we're not beating up on you.
Just a little.
All right, so this is the week of the hot fixes, apparently, because they're coming within the last, 7 or 8 days here, going back and forth. So the first hot fix, I'm not sure which day that came out, but it had a couple minor things that it did. This was the one to fix or do a bunch of the stuff with the Cup cars, so that was updating the setups, and then this was also doing the dash thing for it, and then some minor fixes with the pace car, and I guess something with the Toyota Tundra from the truck side. So that one's basically just for the broadcasting part of it, I guess.
Right.
So then we go to, I guess we calling this one patch 3, and the first one was patch 1, but this was a bigger patch that had almost all the cars. There was a lot of cars in this one that had minor fixes to certain things that I guess that have shown up on them. So a lot of it was fixed there. There was a couple.
Bristol was a big change.
Yeah, so Bristol's got some advertising signs have changed. The what do they call it? The Colossus.
Yep.
Was added, so that's their screen that's sits in the center with the cables on it. Not what's the old one? It was a tower.
It was on a pole. Right? Yeah.
So now we got there's new track logos at the start-finish line. Cameras have been changed, and then the biggest and probably the most asked for thing since Bristol came to this sim, and they did it, was the single pit lane. I meant to ask you, what did you think of that watching it on the broadcast the other night, Mike?
Well, it looked like a real NASCAR pit stop exchange because it matches the real NASCAR rules. Now, it kind of threw me off visually to see the little blue line that is kind of visible. I think they need to hide that for the broadcast.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to get that in so that it's there right for Bristol, right?
It's amazing how quick they fixed it when they realized NASCAR needs to go to Bristol.
Yeah, you noticed that too, eh? It's amazing how all these quick fixes seem to be done. Like I said to Chris before you came in to the chat there before we started the podcast, Mike, I'm worried as a paying customer, and just because the way the sim's gone, they've done a great job at taking their time. I'm worried that some of these things are gonna throw off make some problems that are going to come up, and Chris said it there, but like the hot fixes are going to be probably more prevalent.
I wonder if there's someone at iRacing trying to figure out how to spray PJ1 on the track.
You're probably not.
You're probably right.
At that. You can just see Kramer in his office spraying it on his desk, trying to.
Oh, that would be funny.
With a tire right beside it, trying to figure out the compounds.
That's classic. Yeah.
Now, this one kind of came up all of a sudden for today. Who was it that was racing this afternoon that said this cost them a win? One of our teammates cost us this.
Maybe Adam or Tony? Yeah.
Tony, yeah.
It was Tony. So, he was racing, and all of a sudden he got booted because there was an emergency hotfix for the. It's just a small one for rally car, or the rallycross racing. Just to fix a minor issue in there, and then to fix the Audi R8 LMS setup. Kind of weird, but...
Well, I think Rallycross wasn't working at all, and they had to, take the system down to fix it, yeah.
Okay.
So it's an emergency.
That thing kind of could have been at any time for the Audi.
Right.
But yeah, I guess if there's a whole section of iRacing that's not working, yeah, it's kind of worthy for it.
Okay, let's keep moving. Interesting picture from Johnny Downey in the forums. He put up a picture of his truck at Bristol, practicing with no tires on the truck, literally. And he's up on the track, and there's the truck, but yeah, no tire, no rubber on it.
Did he ever report his tire wear after that run?
Good. I wonder what percentage it is, yeah.
I like the staff member, Nick Leap. Did you do a 2 or 4 tire stop when you noticed the issue?
He's probably serious. It probably makes a difference.
Just funny. Some of those things really crack me up because people at this time, just with everything going on, you need a good laugh.
All right, Chris, and we got a deal for all the new drivers.
Yeah, half off your membership. So, there's a lot of people looking to sign up for the sim, and the perfect time with 50% off new memberships. And I have a buddy that I'm trying to get on the sim, and he's trying to clear it with financial, aka his wife. And so I sent this to him, and hopefully it helps.
All right.
Honey, it's only half price.
Exactly.
What a deal. Yeah, get on there. All right, Greg, kind of a tongue-in-cheek, funny video put out on April Fool's Day by Dinner with Racers.
Well, move over iRacing. E-Racing is coming with their new 2.0 update for pros. So this, I don't know, I remember this video from last year, and I cracked up when watching this because the production value on it it's kind of a low but really funny low budget, and they're so serious about it. It is one of the best April Fool's racing things I've seen. And the detail that they put into it, I mean, I don't know if I could go that long making up a joke like this. Like, what did you guys think of this whole thing? Because this one's focused on making sure that the pros don't whine about losing to NASCAR guy, or to the esports guys. It's quite funny how far they go into it.
Yeah, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, it has a part where you can walk away from the car kind of fast and mad, and the media is following you, asking you questions, and you ignore them. And there's a special little button you can push to do that. And just stuff like that
I think their best thing is their easy color system. The 4 shades of red.
Yeah, their driver rating system, yeah, so just a few different shades of nearly the identical color of red, but
It is, and it'll show up in Sim, so it's very easy to see.
yeah, I should definitely check it out if you want to laugh and it's all that funny iRacing stuff.
I feel like this should have more views than it does. It's only showing that it's got only 4,000 views. I just feel like this was underrated for what it was.
Yeah, a lot of effort looks like went into it too, but it's pretty comical. So that's Dinner with Racers on YouTube, and they have a podcast that's pretty good too. Let's talk new cars, and this isn't an April Fool's. We've had announced the Indy Pro 2000 and the USF 2000 are actually coming in June, so that means they must have already scanned them. So
I can't even think. Obviously, I know they're an open wheel cockpit car, but I can't even think of what it fully looks like.
Indy Lights, the Freedom
Oh, okay.
100
Yeah,
before the
yeah.
Indy 500, right? They look like an Indy car, but smaller, basically. It says you're going to utilize the same chassis. The Tatas USF 17 and the Tatas PM 18 represent the first 2 steps in the Road to Indy program. After conquering the USF 17 and the F2000 action, drivers get to play with 100 more horsepower, more aerodynamic options, and larger tires with the PM 18 and the Indy Pro 2000. What I like about this is we finally have a proper feeder series to the IndyCar to the IndyCar. Because before this, there really isn't a feeder series. You'd have to go to a European car.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be the Indy Lights. Indy Lights is what feeds that series mostly.
Right. Another tidbit, they're looking to run 3 ovals per season. So it'll be a mix between road and oval. Okay, Greg, we got Stafford Speedway getting in on the whole e-racing effort.
So I guess Stafford, after a successful launch last Friday night, Stafford Speedway is set to return with a multi-event iRacing series starting tomorrow night, I guess, or tomorrow. The Stafford Speedway E-Series will be similar to last Friday's event, with weekly live stream broadcasts on the Stafford Speedway YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Event dates include April 3rd, which is tomorrow, and then the 10th, and then the 17th. And they will all be at 7 p.m.
And you can race your way in and join them. So the information is at StaffordMotorspeedway.com, so check their website if you want to get involved.
Is there a night of the week that there isn't anything something going on?
It's crazy right now. I don't know that there is. Maybe Friday, but I'm not certain.
Well, that event's on, so now there is Friday.
And Chris, speaking of April Fools.
Yeah, forum post by Mikhail Ladyshev, leaking the animated paints coming to iRacing.
Animated paints?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. He made a video of exactly that, yeah, animated paints, like so paints where the color can change and you can have graphics that change on the skin of the car. It would be a nightmare.
Yeah, he shows like a Porsche that's white suddenly changes into a rainbow color look with droplets that kind of leak down the side of the car. Very cool.
It's very
great
good
job
at
with the
video
video.
editing.
Yeah.
Well, what was neat about this is at the beginning, he used the iRacing like header or logo. And so it looks like an official like iRacing video like Drew Adamson would put out.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
this would have had like a staff under his name, people would have been flipping out. Like he probably should have just sent this to them to post.
Exactly. And then there was another one where somebody put up in the forums that they had to serve a penalty, and he put up a screenshot of the penalty time, It said 582 hours and 32 minutes he had to serve his penalty.
I would have rather taken the Suarez penalty.
Okay, let's keep moving. Podcast housekeeping. Listener involvement. Send me your emails to iRacersLounge@gmail.com with story ideas. Just need a link. Don't need anything else. And need it by email. Just anything you find about iRacing that you think would be good for the show, shoot me a link, man. I appreciate it. If you just send it to me, that's one less thing I have to do, and I appreciate it. So help me out, guys. And don't forget, we're in regular rotation at the Performance Motorsports Network. Check them out. Hardware software, Greg.
And I'm behind on this. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the hardware side thing. So it looks like MPI has posted an image of their oval rim here on their Instagram page, and these Max Pappas rims are amazing rims. Obviously, they're like official rims that you can get that the Cup guys would use. Kind of, I'm sure there's a different version, but these are good for sim racing. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is a very high quality oval rim. It is really, when you look at it, you got quality there when you got the MPI logo in the center.
Yeah, and it was a big marketing blitz. He says introducing our sim racing line at Max Pappas Innovations. And then when you go to their website and go to the sim racing section, it does say new next to each picture, like it's a new product. But I'm pretty sure we've talked about these before. I don't know if they're just kind of trying to relaunch what they've done in the past so people are aware of it. But I'm not really seeing anything new. But $179 for their oval wheel.
And you can get them all the way up to 16 inches, which is a huge oval rim.
All right, Chris, Race X Pro sequential shifters.
Yeah, we have another shifter. I didn't see a price on this one. Looks a little bit shorter than most of our other ones, but another really solid looking piece.
Yeah, and this is the website simworks with an x.com.au. So they're from Australia.
I don't know what $1,100 Australian is American, but it sounds expensive.
It does. But it's a nice looking product. I mean, it's all heavy metal, it looks like. And
yeah, you could probably, it looks like you could mount this in a real race car just as easily as you could a sim rig. I mean, it's solid.
Oh, yeah. High end for sure. Okay, next up, NASCARism. I guess that's how you say that on Twitter. In case you missed it, if you want to see all the different iRacing setups the drivers were using today, we collected them and put them in one video, and they call it the Rig Down. And they basically got a video going of all the different NASCAR drivers' rigs. Well, it's actually a website where you can see pictures of it. But if you go to the website, which is at NASCAR.com, they literally have 25 different pictures of 25 different rigs. And so if you're kind of wondering or want to go back and see what people are running, this is a good way to do it.
It's a good idea, or a good place for people with just starting out to get some ideas on rigs. You can start with Timmy Hill and work your way all the way up to Denny Hamlin.
And tell Parker Kligerman to get his monitors straightened out and clean up his cable mess.
I love how someone commented saying, "How did Daniel Suarez miss Dylan with his setup?"
Yeah, crazy.
Ross Chastain in his lawn chair. I don't know, dining room chair, I guess.
Pretty cool video. Next video, Sim Racing Garage. We talk about them every week. I mean, Barry is just hitting on all cylinders. This time he reviews an old product, the Fanatec Club Sport version 2.5 wheelbase review. And he's got a 45-minute video where he takes it apart, just like usual, picks it apart, puts it back together, tests it, tells us what he thinks, and so forth. So if you're interested, check that out. Have you guys had the 2.5?
I'm in the one underneath that, the CSL.
Okay.
But if I don't ever go, I think if I'm ever going to invest in something, it's going to direct drive next, anyways. So
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of demand for this when the direct drives are out there, but it's kind of a good middle point, maybe. Okay, next up, Greg, the funky switch.
this seems like something Tony put in right down his alleyway for do-it-yourself switches. So it's introducing. It's called a new funky switch. It offers a 4-way hat and rotor encoder to a push-button switch, all in one. So this is like kind of. It's basically, I don't know, Mike. You have the Xbox hub, right, for your
Yeah.
wheel. It's basically that little X button at the thing. It's basically one of those that you can use to make these. What I'm guessing for your do-it-yourself button boxes. It's at SimCore. The website to find these at is at www.simcore.com.au/DIY. So you can order them in there to wire into your own custom builds if you want for button boxes. It's an option for you, is getting a specific type of rotary button there.
$38, and I kind of want to call it like a one button box.
Yeah, so you could have a lot of different things with it. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, so these funky switches, you can turn them, and then you can rock them back and forth. A lot of them you can push down, so you can get a whole lot of button function out of one tiny button. You can kind of see it with all those soldering points there at the bottom of it.
Yeah, so if you're looking for those, I think it's the first time I've seen these for sale kind of individually.
Yeah, me too. I don't think I've seen them. Yeah, it's great if you be able to mount these to a steering wheel. I mean, it looks like you probably could. They're small enough.
Probably the reason we haven't seen them much is they're probably not cheap to make.
$38.
But to wire too, I imagine too.
And also, they're on my first hub before it got repaired, or before I got a hub from Fnatic. That one failed. The same type of thing failed because of there's so many moving parts in it, right?
Right. Okay, let's keep moving. We got pedals, Sim Racing pedals, Mecha Cup 1, Chris.
Yeah, is this a new company? Mecha
New to us.
Solutions? Yeah, I don't remember seeing them. Yeah, the Mecha Cup 1. It's just another set of pretty sturdy-looking hydraulic pedals. I couldn't find a price, but they look pretty solid. They do make other products as well.
I couldn't find a price either. But the pedals look pretty dang awesome, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and they kind of hit all those buttons too. It looks like they have the load cell, the hydraulic, they have
Right.
the rubber bushings. It seems like they check all those boxes.
Nice looking pedals. They got a base. Yeah, I'm really curious about the price, but I don't even see how you order these, to tell you the truth. I guess there's a shop. Let me click on that. Hold on. And I don't know what country this is either, so I haven't quite figured that out yet. So when I click on shop, it took us to a different website, and it says 704 euros for these pedals. So how about that?
That doesn't seem too bad, actually.
And these look comparable to like the HPPs that we were talking about from California that I really like, those ones with the light blue color. These would be comparable, it looks like, in price as well. And they have a base, which those other HPPs don't. So yeah, check those out. New company, guys. Greg, we also had a sneak peek of a new product from Carolina SimWorks.
Hashtag soon? Nah, it's a rig that they're. I guess this is like a CAD drawing, or it's on their Instagram page, but it's a tease of their next setup with the. It looks like an 80/20 setup, but
Yep.
very simple, but very you know, it looks like it'll be perfect for direct drive and anything you want to accommodate for it.
Yeah, typical 80/20 kind of cockpit. I really like the look or the design of the triple monitor mount, though. That's what kind of appeals to me. Other than that, it looks like any other 80/20 rig to me.
Yeah, it's pretty straight up and down, right? It's like it's a straight up sitting position type thing, right?
Yep. Next story, Greg, you wanted to make sure we talked about this. This is the hand controls for Robert Wickens.
Yeah, this thing kind of interests me because I know obviously Robert Wickens is Canadian and was badly injured. I don't want to say almost 2 years ago, where he's still recovering to try and fully walk, and he's been doing a hell of a job doing it. But I guess he couldn't. He was working with another company. He never did say who the original company was that was doing hand controls for him for his steering wheel setup. And he put I saw the tweet on his account come out. I want to say 24 hours maybe before the IndyCar race, saying that anybody that knows anybody that can make hand controls, I need to get in touch with them ASAP to. Because I had a company back out. So it looks like Max Pappas has been hard at work helping him out with this beautiful setup. And man, it's amazing what you can do and you think when you need to, right? Like obviously, I'm wondering because Chris, you said who was the guy that didn't have legs in the
Oh, Swindell, yeah.
Swindell.
Now you
So
can race
I'm
again.
wondering if he has a similar type of setup.
Must.
So, maybe Max Pappas has already built one of these for somebody. I don't know. I'd have to go and maybe do some research or maybe even actually tweet at Swindell and see what setup he runs for it. But man, kudos to Pappas for trying to get this ready for him. And it sounds like Wickens will be there this weekend.
Yeah, they didn't get it quite to him in time, but Max put up pictures of the build, and it looks pretty amazing. It looks like he's got a Fanatec, hub, universal hub, and then some other mechanical piece that allows the throttle rim and the braking rim that kind of sit behind the wheel rim where he has a throttle and brake.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he's throttling and shifting at the same time, right? Like he's got it on the same side for upshift and then downshift.
Two
is
different
braking.
fingers.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's going to be a talent to do it.
I can't imagine how hard it is to drive with one of those things. And the other thing is, he has no practice with it. Even if he had gotten it and had been thrown into that race, I mean, he probably wouldn't have been pretty. Because that's got to take some getting used to, I would imagine.
Well, I'm sure if he got it this week, he's been probably on working. I have as much as he can.
Yeah, he's definitely in this upcoming race, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, Chris, we got some high-res pictures of the Sim Magic Wheel from Hong Kong.
Yeah, Jeffrey Ford has bought both the oval and the Formula rims, and they're pretty sharp looking.
Yeah.
They're pretty nice. They're start out at $450. They say starting out. I'm hoping that's pretty close to the complete price. You don't have to add extra for buttons or whatever, but I actually like the stock car rim a lot better than the Formula one. The Formula one's kind of basic
Kinda plain.
to me. Yeah, but my only complaint would just like we were talking about that funky switch. The thing has a lot of dials on it. I would probably replace that with a couple of those funky switches, give it a little bit more functionality. I don't need that many dials on a rim. I mean, I guess it'd be nice for volume controls, but that's not something I really want right there all the time. I can find better uses for that. But real nice. So they kind of checks all the boxes too. Alcantara, quick disconnect.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Ford is trying to, I guess, be the U.S. distributor for these. And he's been on the forum saying he's buying 5, 6 at a time and then reselling them to people in the U.S. So if you're interested, that's who you talk to. Okay, wow, Greg, we got applications being accepted for the new G-Belt
Yeah, and I was trying to remember the system, and then obviously as soon as I saw the picture of it, it reminded me of what it was. So obviously this is the restraint belt system that pulls on you as like G-forces for your seat, and they're getting people. You can go to their website on Sim Experience and sign up to be a, I guess, beta tester for their new G belt here. I'm just looking at what they require to do it.
Well, I think you have to have the GS5 seat to go with it. I think that's the idea for the beta testers.
Yeah, so that's I guess yeah, that'd be a good thing to know, right?
I mean, obviously, I think the system could work on a regular or a different kind of seat, but it's made to be, to go with the GS5, which is that motion seat that has the flaps that push against you.
Yeah, so also there is a side note here to anybody that's doing it. Testers must pay almost it's $8.99 refundable deposit plus shipping and applicable taxes for it.
Yeah, if I owned a seat, I'd be all over this, man. I'd want, that's going to be quite a combination. All right, let's keep moving. Chris, we got a do-it-yourself motion platform how-to video.
Yeah, I don't know. So they do say do it yourself in this video by a YouTube video by Play Simulator. I guess it's do it yourself if you have a machine shop in your garage, because they do.
And you can weld.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of need to be an engineer to do this yourself, but it's a really cool 3DOF rig.
The motion that it moves when you see them actually in it, holy cow, this thing has some movement.
Yeah, like I said, just on those 3 points, it seems to get all of the movement in.
So if you're handy, check this out. It's Play Simulator, all one word, on YouTube. In fact, I'm going to subscribe so I can see their future videos. But yeah, Chris, you found this video somewhere, and when you sent it, I was like, whoa, check this out.
Yeah, I wish it was a little bit more do-it-yourself.
And this is the kind of motion cockpit you definitely need seatbelts for.
Yeah, he does. Part of the video, it looks like he does put his daughter in the rig, so it shows that it is safe. You do want to have those belts on, though.
It's almost too much movement, I would think, for a racing sim. The way it kind of jerks about, but wow. Okay, next up, final topic here. Woojer, WOOJER.com has a vest, and it's called the Vest Pro. It's bone-shaking, location-specific, haptic vest. Delivers sensation so powerful and accurate, it'll raise everything from your pulse right through to the tiny hairs on the back of your neck. $599. Ships within 2 business days. And it looks like it looks kind of like a water, like you're going in the lake and you need something to keep you floating.
Yeah, I was going to say 4 interest-free payments of only $149.75, though. That sounds more my speed.
There you go.
This thing looks awesome. I want this for VR. I mean, I can only imagine how cool this thing would be. I don't know. I know Steve Thompson, he has kind of a chair seat that he sits on that has haptics in the back of it, the vibration thing.
Yeah, the pad thing, yeah.
Yeah, so I can imagine this. I mean, that's how this would kind of work, and I imagine it would be
motion for your butt.
Yeah, it would feel really, really good, but I wonder how thick it is, and it seems like I don't know that you would be able to play this sitting down in a race seat like this. If you're probably gonna want to use this kind of thing standing up, and if you are sitting down, I think you're probably gonna be like on a couch or something more forgiving.
Well, they show pictures down below of the guy wearing it, and he's standing up doing VR. And they even have a thing where you could take the PC and strap it on your back, so you're like mobile with your VR.
Yeah, so I think this thing would be awesome for VR, but it just looks like the back of it's just too thick to be comfortable sitting in a race seat.
Optional PC mounting on your back.
Heck yeah.
This is a neat product. I don't know if it would work sitting in a seat like you said, but Can't wait for somebody to buy it and tell us.
Perfect for social distancing. You just walk around with your computer on your back and you hang out with your friend that's across the country.
Okay, let's jump into results. NASCAR iRacing Series. Let's finish up Texas. Friday Open, Nick Williams, P12. David Hall, P4, which I think is the best result of the team for the week. Good job, David Hall, who's definitely a leader on our team. I got P26. Ouch. I really struggled with turn 2. I was loose, man, in turn 2. I could not get through there. Towards the end, it kind of got better as there was more rubber down, but I just sucked. I had pitted under a green flag run, and for some reason, it didn't fill the car. And I actually had a human spotter, Ryan Eckstein, with me, and I was kind of like, did he screw up and turn off the gas, or did I do it? I know I didn't do it, so I was kind of thinking he screwed up somehow. But later after the race, I realized I had updated Joel Real Timing just before the race. It had an update available, and I finally did it. And apparently, it has a thing where it auto checks off your fuel or something, and it defaulted the wrong way. And I had never used Joel Real Timing to control fuel. But apparently it has a way to control fuel, and it did it on its own without my intervention, and basically made me had to pit again on green for gas. And then I was so pissed, I sped off pit road. And so I ended up 3 laps down because of that. So don't update your software right before the race. That's the lesson learned. Tony Rochette got a P15. He said he restarted second with 4 to go. Should have gotten tires. This was the last lap, wrecked out by an outside car out of 2, hitting the wall on the white flag. Saturday fixed. I ran again, wrecked out. Definitely was on the outside, leaving a lane and more on the inside, and the guy just came up and took me out. And when you're on the outside at Texas in the corner and that guy gets into you, there's not a lot you can do. Sunday Open, Tony Rochette. Engine done, gone, blown up, he said. I got a P19. We were out to lunch on the set. Now, Greg, I think we used your set on this race.
I noticed my set when I...
Yeah, I ended up wrecking out by myself, and then Greg, you wrecked out too.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time Saturday working on the set, and I had one fatal flaw in it that I figured out after we raced, so just sucked after I figured it out too late. I put on a lot of laps. I learned a lot on that session, so I'm hoping it translates forward in the season, so we'll go from there. It's nothing I can probably really help us at Bristol this week, but I learned some stuff about the mile and a half that did make it faster. We just have to add the other part that I forgot to it to make it last longer.
Yeah, I think we were out to lunch Friday night. I think it was Adam's set, and I was just so loose in 2 I couldn't drive it, and I ended up wrecking. And so we tried your set Sunday, and it was definitely not loose anymore, and you could drive it up off 2, but we were just slower than everybody else. Sunday fixed, I got a P19. I was always fading on the longer runs. I got caught up in a wreck I couldn't miss. Just my typical luck. I'm losing iRating like crazy. And speaking of that, let's move on to Bristol. I wrecked out Wednesday Open. Had a good top 10 actually going. I was running like 10 to 15th most of the day. But got caught up finally in a wreck near the end. That was not my doing. There's no way to miss it. I was pretty lucky up to that point. New team member Tom Dreeling got a P19. He was in my split. He had a major damage at lap 100 and actually lost 5 laps due to that. Tony Rochette wrecked out again. And then Chris, P2.
Yeah, it was kind of just missed all the wrecks. I ran around 5th most of the race. Yeah, really, a lot of it is at Bristol. I'm not going to lie, but I did miss it all. And then at the had a pretty good shot at the end. I was running second, but with a couple laps to go, the leader got a really good jump on me. He had a pretty busted up car, and our set, the set I used had like a 70% brake bias, and it was so high that I was afraid to lower it that it might break it or something. And when I really tried to drive it hard there, I just lost that center where I was beating them. And I did have a nice run him coming off the turn 4. He had to go low to try to avoid a lap car that was up high, and I just kind of let it eat on his outside and ended up wrecking us both across the line, which in hindsight was a really dumb move. I mean, because it was just kind of a last-second thing across the line. But with these incident limits, I didn't take into consideration with his busted-up car. I hit a 4X right before the line and could have got him ejected. So maybe that wasn't so smart. But last corner.
Yeah, I think I jumped in to watch you on that last restart. Yeah, he just smoked you on the start, and there was just no catching him. Because there's just not enough time.
Yeah, they're going to need that. That's why I said something about that PJ1. It is going to be a rough race for those guys this weekend, I think, because with a high line dominant Bristol is not a good place to be.
I don't think you have to be worried about cautions this week.
No.
Man, I just want to finish, get a good finish. So, all right, let's get into final thoughts. It's been a long show, but I hope a good one. Chris Scales.
Long podcast, but had a lot of fun and made it through the whole thing without peeing. So I guess I'm a grown man.
Big boy now. Greg Hectus, final thought.
Oh my God.
Sorry. I'm sorry, David. That was me.
Anyways, that's an inside joke that nobody's gonna get.
I got it.
Yeah. I've been away for a while. I haven't been at the podcast, 2 or 3 weeks in a row here. I've been working my tail off 60 plus hours a week since all this stuff's gone down hill with the world right now. But for me, and the most, I'm just looking forward to racing. It's the only thing that kind of takes my mind away from what's going on. It's my release, and it's good to get to do it. I don't know if I'll get to do it Friday night. I might be doing it, not only get a shot on Sunday for it. Probably going to celebrate my daughter's birthday tomorrow somehow in these trying times. But yeah, but I just hope that everybody that listens to the show and everything and follows us out there is staying safe and stay away from people. Sit in your rigs and race.
That's right. Don't breathe on nobody. All right, let's. My final thoughts. Well, thank you to Evan Pasoko for coming on, talk about Coke racing. Of course, Jeremy Allen, the Coke driver who did so well in Road to Pro and had so many good runs, was always in contention, fun to watch. Good luck to him. And I shout out to Adam. The guy who does the editing for the iRacing videos and live stream. What's his name? Adam, right?
Yeah, I can't remember his last name.
That's the most important guy on the planet right now as far as iRacing goes. And I understand from one Twitter from Steve Myers, who was responding to a question on Twitter, that they pretty much vacated the Boston offices due to the coronavirus. So Drew Adamson, that's his name, Drew Adamson, would not get sick because without him, doing all the editing and whatnot and the cameras and stuff and being the main producer, none of these broadcasts would be happening. And so a big shout out to Drew Adamson, who's actually getting it done. He's the busiest guy in motorsports this week. And with that, we'll see you on the track. Later. Thank you for listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast. Make sure to go subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Google Play, Facebook, and Twitter. See you on the track.